Worm is a web serial by J.C. McCrae, also known as Wildbow. You can read Worm in its original format by visiting parahumans.wordpress.com or donate to Wildbow's Patreon at patreon.com/wildbow. This story isn't intended for young or sensitive readers. Readers who are on the lookout for trigger warnings are advised to give Worm a pass. For a complete list, check the description for all of Worm's trigger warnings.
Good morning, Brockton Bay. I hope you're ready for a barbecue because things are burning.
Oh, man. Yes, they are. Welcome, everyone, to Arc 16, episode. I don't know what episode number we are, but we're on Arc 16.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Who's to say?
We'll label it. I know. Man, what an episode we got here. What an arc. Joined, as always, with the Brockton Bay Book Club. Myself, Jacob, and Alan, and Nick.
Hey.
And
hello.
Hannah. I'm just running down the list here. And Michael on the keys. On the sax. I forget what instrument I'm giving you.
Michael, I've always wondered how you were able to edit all of this while being blind. It's really kind of incredible.
He's got magical ears. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, yeah,
It's just
super
a miracle, really.
I don't know why you said that, but I thank you.
I think you know why, Mike.
I actually really don't, but we're gonna move on, and we have something very exciting. We actually have 2 voicemails to listen to from our fan community.
Oh,
Is it Christmas already?
I know we've been waiting up so long to hear from the fans, and
That's very exciting.
Yes, here's the first one. Let's see if this works.
This is Sweetheart. I just want to say I think you guys are really cool, and I hope you get your pizza party. Okay, that's all. Thank you so much. Okay, bye-bye.
Wow.
That child was really a fan.
No, I don't think it was a child.
Did his parents know that we were listening? Listen to this.
I believe we got that Sweetheart on the mic right there. So
but
thank you.
Thank you for saying the name because I heard Sweet Chuck and I was like, Sweet Chuck.
Yeah, poor
I mean, it might have been
Chuck.
Sweet Chuck. How are we to know?
Boy
really?
just wants a pizza, you know.
I mean, I think this listener, just happy to be part of something so amazing. Really,
he sounded like he sounded like he was recording that inside a closet, perhaps.
Perhaps he was
out of range.
Perhaps.
You know what? There's nothing wrong with that, Sweet Chuck.
Yeah, Sweet Chuck. You be in that closet.
Thank you. Anyways, sorry for all the bratement, Sweet Chuck. And thank you for calling in. And here is the next and final voicemail of tonight. If you guys want to also leave a voicemail, call in at 980-999-0438. And your voicemail might be featured.
Hello, this is Kayla Scott. I do not have a cape name because I haven't actually read the web serial Worm yet.
Mm-hmm.
But I still just wanted to call and let you guys know that I've been listening to your podcast each week, and I've really been enjoying them, and I think you all are hilarious, awesome people, and I love hearing your thoughts. So please keep making this podcast. I'm a huge fan.
Very nice.
And I know a lot of other people are as well. And I feel like even though I haven't read the web serial, I enjoy hearing about it, and it feels like I'm vicariously living it through you guys. So thank you so much for putting the podcast out there. I hope you guys have a great week.
Oh, that person sounds very sweet.
So nice.
Yeah,
that's so nice.
Thanks, Kayla.
Yeah.
Very sweet of you.
It warms the cockles of my heart.
Yeah.
Kayla, you should probably read the web serial instead of just listening to it.
I think you'd really enjoy it.
If you would just like the abridged version, we could maybe come up with something where we'll give you our version of it.
I mean,
like a different than the dissecting worm. It's just us retelling it.
Is that not the summaries that I do every time we record?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Hannah's already doing that.
I feel like there could be more flavor to them. Like
I was thinking we could do it kind of like all of the abridged series, except we come up with our own audiobook version, except it's worm abridged.
Yes,
and it's just all of the really dumb things that we say.
100%,
but put together in an audiobook form.
We need a casually explained for worm. Anyone knows that YouTube channel?
Yes.
Okay. I was like, what?
Yeah.
Hannah, I acknowledge and recognize that is already what you're doing. And thank you so much for your summary work. They are very helpful. And it sounds like Kayla would agree. So there we go. But yes, we should definitely do whatever this Patreon idea is that you're all talking about.
The exclusive content.
So 980-999-0438 if you want to potentially be able to be heard on air. Full disclosure, this episode was recorded before we had Patreon members. So the following discussion was about the hypothetical acquisition of Patreon members.
If we got even one paid Patreon member, we would release something for you. I assure you.
We would dote on that person so hard.
That person would get.
You would get a. You could get the tattoo. You will send you a slice of pizza.
That's true.
The pizza's not going to be great, but it'll be there.
Hey, we'll send it. Yeah,
please.
Exactly.
Maybe we'll just send you a gift card.
Don't make promises to people on the internet. You guys know what exists on the internet. We know who our listeners. Do not know.
I mean, I'm not. I could keep that promise. I will send a pizza slice to our first Patreon member. You can hold me to
a New York pizza slice at that.
If you're really into it, I've got some Kaiser feet pics that I could send you as well.
I think we're about to pick up a couple Patreons,
And Patreon members will also receive a signed and written apology from me on behalf of the cast.
You will get the opposite. Whatever the opposite of an apology is, that's what you'll receive from me to counteract that.
If I'm keeping track, I think we've also promised Jacob's hand in marriage if anyone knows Lord of the Rings and calls in. So we've got a lot.
That's true.
We have a lot on the line. We've promised a lot, so no one's taking us up on it. I don't know why.
I can't understand.
Brockton Bay Book Club, the podcast that overpromises and always underdelivers.
Well,
I don't know what you're talking about.
So far, no one's met the criteria, so we haven't even had a chance.
It's true.
Potentially.
The Brockton Bay Book Club, the podcast that lives to say the word technically.
That is accurate. That is correct.
I'll clip that for later.
Well, I think we have delayed long enough here.
Mm-hmm.
And thank you to all of our listeners who have stuck with us for these first 8 minutes. We appreciate you. And we're going to get going into some Worm, Arc 16. Speaking of amazing summaries, Hannah, do you want to break down maybe the first couple chapters here?
Yeah. There's a lot that happens in Arc 16, Monarch. It's just a lot. There are 3 separate interludes, and it's. I would say that this arc is pretty nicely bundled into specific chapters. So I'm going to bundle up the first couple of chapters and interlude here as the dragon situation. So chapter 1 opens up. Taylor is holding a barbecue in her territory and Gru joins in, but Dragon crashes the party. Coyle promises that if Taylor can take care of the dragon situation, that their bargain will be considered complete in regards to Dinah. Chapter 2, the Undersiders and the Travelers attack the PRT headquarters, and Taylor blips in and out of different floors, chaos ensues, and Imp kidnaps Piggot, however you want to say that. And then we have our interlude here, which is kind of like a PRT squad as they move into Ellisburg, a city that is been taken over by a cape named Nilbog. They face up against Nilbog and the weird creatures that he's created. We reveal that one of the characters in this group is Piggot from a long time ago, and we get a glimpse of someone who's been mentioned, but Thomas Calvert. Chapter 3, Piggot now, in the hands of the Undersiders, fucks around with them, not offering any useful information, gets under Taylor's skin, gets under Tattletale's skin, and eventually tells them the dragon is working with a new tinker and that she is dying from the injuries that she got facing off against Nilbog so long ago. I hesitate to keep going, but I think I'm gonna stop there before we.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to pause.
Yeah.
I mean, I've got enough stuff. We could have stopped at the first interlude or even the first.
There's a ton of information in these chapters, but it's before we face off. So
it's worth mentioning before we jump into Arc 16 is the longest arc in all of Worm. It comes in at just under 100,000 words.
Holy shit!
There is
91.
This is a whole book unto itself.
It really is.
It's wild to me though, because and I mentioned this before we even started reading as we were just chatting. This arc goes as in it just rolls.
Yeah.
As in I found myself just wanting to keep reading.
Yeah.
Each and every part. And I think this is part of why I forgot so much is because back when I was in college and had fewer responsibilities, I succumbed to that temptation. And I probably just read this entire arc in one sitting because so much happens in this one. And it's absolutely wild. I love it.
All right. Well, let's jump into it. Starting off with a nice little barbecue in Taylor's territory.
We're at the end of the Fast and Furious movie, We're hanging out after having just defeated the Slaughterhouse 9 in whatever hot rods they drive around in. And, we're just trying to kick it back with family and enjoy a good meal together. But doggone it, if the feds don't kick in the door and ruin everything. I remember the barbecue going on for longer and being a nicer thing before it got ruined. But no, we can't have that. We can't have nice things.
Yeah, we really can't.
It
feels like they just cannot seem to get a break. Like, you'd think that maybe after everything that had happened with the Slaughterhouse 9 that they might get at least a small reprieve, but no, absolutely not.
And I think that immediate action is part of what contributes to why this arc feels so tense and you just want to keep reading, because it is that expectation and kind of that hope where you're just hoping for a few quiet moments, that slice of life superhero story that Alan wants so bad. But this arc just hits the ground running. They're having the barbecue, they're chatting, and then all of a sudden, hot damn, there's a giant robot on the roof.
Nick, you've activated my trap card. I was ranting about this earlier on the phone with Hannah, but Wildbow has this thing where he writes, where he does not let off the gas pedal. He did it for Worm, his first work. He did it for Pact, his second, work, and he did it for Twig, his third work. And it's not until Ward that he figures out that downtime can be good. Like, he really hates the concept of just sitting back and watching your characters do a little slice of life, And honest to God, it's my favorite part. You all know this, Nick. Thank you for pointing that out. And man, I just want them to have the barbecue. That's all I want. And
they deserve a nice pork shoulder.
It takes him 6 years and 3 cereals to figure out that 50% of the people who read Worm hate that shit, and the other 50% love it. So
I think I imagine it's a problem with the web serial format potentially.
Yeah.
In a book, you
true.
have a bit more time to sit down and have that downtime and think through how you want to measure out the rise and fall of the action. But with a web serial, you're trying to bring people in every week, right? So you don't
Right. Exactly.
want to have what could be considered by some of your loyal readers a dead chapter.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say that any of Wildbow's chapters are dead chapters, even the slice of life ones. But I can imagine that as a format, the web serial format kind of pushes you that direction. Because even looking back at like older ones, like Tale of Two Cities and other old books that were written as web serials, you notice there's a lot that happens in every section. You're like, wow, there's like 4 subplots here in this one chapter.
Yeah.
Why did they do that? And it's just because they're trying to keep
opera. Like
they're trying to keep everybody interested. Yeah,
it has to always end on a cliffhanger. Every single chapter.
Right.
It's like Goosebumps. Every chapter is a cliffhanger, even if it's just one page.
Yeah. I get that, but I also think at the same time, the format of you're writing so much and you're releasing it twice. So, we'll just say minimum twice a week. Like, I think that constitutes an excellent format for you to go on doing mundane shit. Like, it might not be the most exciting thing, but if you're reading a long format where we are getting into intricate detail about everything, we can get into intricate detail about maxing and relaxing, Nothing wrong with that.
That's the anime way. Is now we're gonna have 20 episodes where they figure out how to cook shrimp,
Yeah.
And
Well, maybe we don't go that far, but I think I've always thought that the serial, especially played out, like I said, when we get to Ward, I think is played out really well. Where much like we had in earlier chapters, or earlier arcs, there's sort of a rest action. Like there's the swing back and forth.
Yeah.
Even in the arcs. And for this, it's like you haven't gotten it for a couple arcs, and judging by the end of this one, we're not going to get it. Like it's he just loves holding down the gas pedal and letting shit just continue to roll downhill. And it's one of those things where, as we talk, I think the timeline gets brought up again at some point in time. Like, so far, we are still in we haven't left 2 months yet since the beginning of this book.
Yeah,
right?
Like 2 months.
Serial.
Something crazy like that, yeah.
Yeah. Like, oh man, it's been a crazy 2 months. I'm like, 2 months? Like,
imagine being a civilian that ends up in Skitter's territory after everything. Like, you're just your life these past 2 months have been absolute hell. You've got all the gang stuff. That goes right into Bakuta's bombs. That goes right into Leviathan. That goes right into Slaughterhouse 9. Right? And now you're getting your barbecue, you're getting your chance to rest and maybe hold whatever loved one is still alive. And we get assaulted with a bunch of robots. It's just...
I just imagine all the regular people that were throwing bottles and stuff at Dragon. They didn't really care that Dragon was a good guy or a bad guy or not. They're just like, screw you, I wanted my barbecue.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. That's what I'd be doing.
I love that. I feel like it's because we hear about it a little bit later with the voting for the mayor and everything, but there seems to be a huge disconnect of what people know to be true. Yes, they are villains versus well, the villains have done stuff for us. The villains have actually, tried to fix things. And even if you might never have sided with Skitter or the Undersiders before, regardless of who Dragon is, you're finally able to have a beer. Fuck this giant dragon mech. Let me have my PBR. Jesus.
Exactly. Yeah, and going back to how chaotic it kind of seems to stay, we've only introduced more characters, so you can't really slow down that much,
No,
how would you?
Can't. You really
That's
can't.
true. But it would be. I do like the idea of the barbecue being a whole episode or whatever. That'd be nice.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Well, no time for barbecues. We got Dragons on the loose.
Fucking dragons. Taylor's comment, I really hate tinkers, but I really hate tinkers who share.
Lost Alan.
We lost Alan. Got so mad about the barbecue that he can't talk anymore.
Just blipped out of existence.
No, I can still see my wave format. And then Taylor whips out this line, like, I hate tinkers, but I really hate tinkers who share. And man, if Dragon and Defiant aren't sharing a whole lot of things, you know what I'm saying?
Sharing a lot.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they work well together.
Wait. Oh, sorry. I freaked out for a second. No, keep going. Keep going. I
bet you did when Michael realized what we were actually talking about.
Yeah.
You might even say that they've synced up.
I like
that. They've put the male part of the USB port.
They've ported
USB into the female USB port, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly.
There are AIs.
Did you guys know that those were called the male and female parts, by the way? Anyways.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For most electrical stuff, I think.
I learned that the other day.
You didn't know that?
Weird.
Yeah.
Anyway, they fucking.
What would you call it, Nick? What would you call it, Nick, if you had to rename it?
The stick in the hole, but I guess that's not much better, huh?
You know what? That's what I call it. The old stick in hole.
No.
The shover and the receiver.
No.
Yeah. There's only tops and bottoms in my universe. That stick and hole sounds like...
to be fair... What were you going to say, Alan? Sorry.
I was going to say, it's a father in the 1700s explaining to their child what the birds and the bees.
No.
It's like, Daryl, are you going to teach our boy about the stick in the hole? It's like, I guess I'll go teach him about the stick in the hole. Like, son,
yeah.
Let me tell you about a stick in a hole.
No.
See, I was going to say that, as you said, in your universe, there's only tops or bottoms, but I would love a switch USB that could work either way, no matter how you flipped it.
Oh, fuck yeah.
So that's
there's a lot of weird dongles out there. And let me tell you, they ain't straight. That's for sure.
I'm glad I asked this question.
Yeah, I was about to say, Michael,
it's going to be a long episode.
Michael, are you not entertained?
No, I am. I said I'm glad, Yep.
This is a really fun scene, though. I love it when characters, aside from your protagonist, get moments to really shine. And this does feel like a good... Dragon has a few of these, but this one is specifically these couple chapters here. Really fun seeing Dragon kind of go all out, quote unquote. Gets a chance to really show her power.
Yeah. Which is cool and all, but I feel like Dragon has got her ass kicked every time she's shown up.
She definitely is like that.
Yeah,
she is. It's funny because she's an AI, but Dragon is almost like that paragon good hero. Like we talk about how Legend kind of has that persona, like he's the Superman face or that kind of thing. It's really
he's a
Dragon.
hero's hero.
Yeah, and that's to the world and Worm. Yeah, that's true. But to the reader, that character is Dragon. Dragon is the no-kill rule. Everything, all phasers are set to stun. Not going to don't let anybody get hurt. Don't knock over anybody's, fine china. It's just, she's as careful as can be, the pinnacle of that good hero ideology.
I'm waiting for the moment.
Except for barbecues.
I'm waiting for the Superman moment where Dragon just goes, I've been playing in a world filled with organic material.
Yeah.
Now I get to let loose. I've been holding back in a world full of meat bags.
Yeah. Exactly. Got to get one of those. We kind of do in a couple chapters with one of her suits, but we'll get there. Not to get ahead, can't rush ahead. There's too much to go through. We move on to their attack. Undersiders and Travelers regroup to attack the PRT.
I think the blipping Taylor in and out through the windows is smart. especially after everything with the Slaughterhouse 9, like, they probably haven't replaced a lot of their glass. So you don't have to worry about the sunlight hitting the outside and reflecting or anything. So like her blipping in and out on these floors is it's a smart move. It feels like it's not like there wasn't a plan other than we're just gonna have you show up and cause some chaos and that's it. Like it didn't. Like, did we not have more of a plan than that?
Like there is a plan and it succeeds, but even after you get the Ocean's 11, like and here's what we actually pulled off, and Pigot's revealed, it still felt like the most half-assed. Like, let's go in there and knock all the china cabinets down, and then while they're not paying attention to that, we'll grab the family parakeet. Like, and meanwhile, there's somebody watching the entire room. Like, oh look, they're knocking down the china cabinets, and now they're taking the bird cage. Like it didn't feel like it was that much of a distraction. It
Such
just
an insult to Pigot.
It was so funny.
I mean,
if she had to be, she'd be more of
apparently.
like a hamster or like a guinea pig.
Wow.
Than a parakeet? Come on.
No, Pigot feels like that really loyal old dog.
Like a cocker spaniel that can barely move anymore.
Yeah. Poor thing. Like you feel bad for her, but she is like, if in those moments when they are sharp, they are on it. And Pigot, of course, is this is a bit of an exaggeration, of course, with the image, but Pigot is a character who is on it. She is somebody who has, as we find out in the interlude, faced probably the worst of the worst when it comes to superheroes.
Yeah.
And ironically is in a position of power over them while hating them and despising them. And she just does not give a flip. She's like, yeah, I'm going to die if you don't do this. And I know I'm getting into the later things, and I don't want to miss how cool this fight is with Trickster and Skitter working together, because that is super cool. But I don't want to undersell Pigot either. She's kind of a cool character in her own way.
Yeah, she
the
is.
The fight's so cool with my favorite, and I'll never forget this part, is the switch falling.
Oh, yes.
I think
That's scary.
Is it Taylor that just keeps jumping out the window?
Yep.
And then Trickster keeps switching. Like she just keeps doing it.
So good.
Just runs up, jumps, teleports back, runs up, jumps again.
It's so cinematic.
There are all these normies inside. Like you switch with any of them, they are breaking that. They're not coming out of that. Like they're gonna hit the cement and splat. Like, come on.
They're specifically grabbing the heroes, I'm pretty sure.
Is it the heroes? I didn't realize
they're grabbing the heroes, and
that's
they're only dropping them a few feet, really. They're not dropping them from the third floor where she jumps out. It's more like Trickster switches her a couple feet. Yeah, like halfway there. Enough to knock the wind out of him, but not kill anybody.
A solid 10 feet of funk.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're gonna sound like a broken record because we say this all the time with a lot of these characters. But I love the way that Wildbow really makes some of these smaller powers like Trickster shine, where it doesn't feel very combat effective. Like it's an effective power, but like you don't really think of someone like Trickster posing any kind of threat to these really crazy characters. But it kind of does, and it feels really viable. Like this could work. Like just moving everyone around, or in previous arcs where he's just like keeping Crawler from coming closer, things like that. And it's really fun to see. Like I love the way Wildbow continues to evolve, the way these powers and characters adapt to different fights and scenarios.
It's something that I really enjoyed when we did like a little bit of Weaver Dice role play with powers, where like we got randomly generated powers and then we role played in that world. But it's like, Baldur's Gate 3 is out right now. It's like, what if at the beginning of the game you were randomly assigned one spell? That is the spell you get to use. And that's it. And then you could play the whole campaign with that one spell. That is what it is like here. And I think that's interesting. I think that'd be super fun. And
you have to be inventive with your one power and like make it work for you and make it do things that someone else might not think to do. But because it's yours and you've had it, like, oh yeah, I'm gonna throw myself out the window. Well, that works.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Go for it. See what happens. Yeah, I love that. But they get it works. I was gonna say it works. They get Pigget. Or Imp, I should say Imp gets Pigget.
Imp gets Pigget. Yeah.
And again, classic Imp. Don't see her the entire fight.
Yep.
And then there she is.
Forgot she was there.
Every time.
I will say that because the Undersiders do tend to like break up and go in different groups to do different things, sometimes you just lose track of who's in what group. And so like forgetting that Imp is there, if they're all together as like a giant group, then like it's harder to lose track of her. But if they're broken up and they're in different formations, as it were, it's easy to forget like, oh wait, who is supposed to be here and who isn't? Like, okay, you know, so and so is gone, so and so's with this other person. Like, well, where's Imp? Like, well, either she's here and we've forgotten about her, or she's just with the other group. And so whenever she does show back up, it's like, this is so fun. Like, hi, there you are. I forgot we were doing that.
Yeah.
Yeah, isn't there a whole thing like where she has a note in her hair?
Yes. Yes. So she like reaches back and her hair is tied back with a piece of paper. And Taylor like pulls the piece of paper out and it's like, oh, it's her own writing. It's Taylor's writing. And she's like, huh, go to the beach. Cool. I guess we're going to the beach. Like, I love that.
Yeah. It is just such a, again, Imp just continues. I like these little powers, you know, whether it's Regent, not with the mind control, but just with the nerve flick, or Imp with the, oops, you forgot I'm there, or Trickster with the flipping things around. These are just kind of the fun powers to me, the ones that are very simple, but very cool when they're used right.
Yeah.
Interlude?
Yes.
Yeah, interlude.
Oh boy. I've mentioned before that there's a lot of this that I don't remember. This is one of the interludes I remember because I think Nilbog is one of, it just occurred to me that I think I really like creepy characters. Like,
yes. You just realized.
I think Nilbog is super cool. And
just
I
admitted
really
it
love
to herself. Is what happened.
And yeah. Yeah, I don't remember most of this other stuff, but I do remember Nilbog and I did remember Bonesaw. And so I didn't remember what he did though, like what it was. I just remembered the city was like secluded, but it was so like these like creepy little monsters that they remind me of one of the episodes from Rick and Morty, that like weird pocket world that guy goes into.
I literally have it. It's Beth's play world.
Beth's. That's what it is.
I literally
Beth's
have the
play
note.
world.
The first time I saw that Rick and Morty episode, all I could think was this interlude.
Oh god, it's so creepy. It's
I will hump this tree.
I will hump
this rock. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not great. It's not great at all.
I will make all these monsters.
I will. Yep. It's gross. It's gross, but it's super fascinating. And like, I think maybe just the body horror of it is what is so interesting. Absolutely disgusting, but super cool nonetheless.
Great name.
Yeah.
I love
Nilbog?
It's goblin backwards.
It's just goblin backwards.
Anyway.
I know, but
it works so well though.
It's cool. I like it.
It does. It's great.
Did you know that Wildbow broke his toe when he spelled goblin backwards?
Oh my god.
What?
He's referring to people who know too much about Lord of the Rings and like
oh my gosh,
things.
with the helmet and the
However, it does just go to show you that simply flipping a word backwards does make it sound a lot scarier, because Nilbog has such a different feel to it than Goblin does.
Yeah.
And
Alucard.
Alucard sounds a lot. It feels a lot different than Dracula. Sometimes you don't need to be that creative. You just need to flip a word backwards.
Exactly.
Noted.
That's a good point.
Just flip.
I was gonna say, write
backwards.
it down. All the writers are making notes right now, and everyone who didn't know about the Nilbog thing is like, "What? Whoa.
All right, so my
we just
name is
dropped the bomb.
Nala, and Hannah's is Hannah. Oh, fuck. That doesn't work.
My name's a palindrome.
I do like to imagine, though, that that Wild Bow came to it in a different path, in the sense of like, nil. Nil is kind of like nihil, for nothing. And a bog is like a swamp. So nil bog is kind of like a, damn it, it's just goblin backwards.
It reminds me of the Brandon Sanderson story about Elantris, where he was writing this story with his I think it was his college writing
it was
group
his
or
college
whatnot,
writing buddy.
and he called it the city of Adonis, and his one friend read it and goes, well, where's the Greek like callback? And he's like, what the hell are you talking about? Like, why would there be Greek imagery? And they're like getting this argument back and forth, and finally, like, the guy listening to them can't take it anymore, and he goes, Brandon, Adonis is a Greek figure. Yeah. And you, other guy, he doesn't get that. And he's like, no, that's wrong. And then he came back to the next meeting and was like, so I looked up Adonis.
I've renamed
Turns out
everything.
I didn't make up that name.
I hate when that happens. Gosh.
Oh my gosh. No, I had somebody come to me with a song idea, because I make music also. And they were like, oh, I have this amazing like chorus or something. I don't remember what it was now, but he's like humming it. I'm like, I can't even remember what the song was now, but I'm like, it's like top 10 like on the radio right now, what you're humming. Like, he's like, no, it's not. I'm like, no, listen. And I like played it. He's like, oh gosh, no. I thought I was a genius.
I hate that. When you think you're a genius and you're actually like 1 month late.
Yeah, he's like, oh, we need to make this song. I'm like, dude, this is a thing already.
Late.
Like a lot, like, yeah.
It has already been made, sir.
Yeah.
No. It's great news. We don't have to make it. It's already been made.
Yeah.
You can just
listen to it on the radio.
It's so funny. Yeah.
And yeah, it's super creepy. And I remember this interlude from the first time reading it. Very memorable. I don't remember exactly what happens in the interlude, like the details of them blowing everything up with with grenade launchers and shit. Like, who?
Well, it's one of the it's just crazy, and it feels like we have the Slaughterhouse 9, and yes, collectively they were an S-class threat, and like Siberian and Bonesaw, you understand why they get that classification, but they still feel human in a way. Nilbog doesn't. Nilbog feels like an Endbringer type creature. Like it's just this whole organism the size of a city, essentially. And it feels unbeatable. Like it's deserving of that classification. At the end, they're just like, oh, well, all right, we're just going to let him do his thing. You stay over there. We're not going to bug you anymore.
And we realized
the PRT really said, we're going to wall that shit up and we're not going to touch it. It's just going to exist over there in his little corner. And we're all just going to pretend that city no longer exists.
Yep.
Like they really just went, yeah, okay, we're all just going to move on. Like what?
Yeah.
What?
Also, to preempt all of those about to correct Jacob, he knows that the city isn't an organism.
Oh my gosh.
Classifying, the threat of Nilbog is the whole city. Like, because of all his little creepy creations.
Unfortunately, you weren't fast enough, Ellen. They've already paused the podcast and have commented.
They've already commented. They just went back and deleted their comment now.
No, sure as hell they didn't. They
never goes back and deletes the
They're
comment.
like...
They already stopped listening, actually.
Yeah.
They've walked away at this point.
Turned it off.
Exactly.
But I will say, as a note of humor that came to me in the darkness of this section, the narrator notes that when they actually come across the real, I don't remember the real guy's name, but the real guy who is Nilbog now, and they hear him speak, they mention how he has this like high-pitched, whiny voice, and it's creepy amidst all the monsters how human it sounds. And for some reason, the only voice I could think of was Lemon Grab. From Adventure Time.
Uh,
Especially because he's yelling and raging, and I'm going to step away from the mic for this, so sorry, Michael, if you have to clip it or not, but just the, you will worship me like a god!
yeah.
Just in the midst of all the terror is
Yeah.
kind of the feeling.
I love it. I
Yeah.
love it so much.
That's canon.
Is it James Rinky?
Jamie Rinky or Rink.
Yeah.
Rinky or Rink.
Ranky.
Yeah.
He's the baker.
Yeah. Jamie's not a scary name, so it's kind of fun.
Rink, though.
Yeah, Rink,
That,
sure.
that definitely screams serial killer vibes.
We interrupt our scheduled program to bring you a word from our sponsor, Zencastr, a one-stop shop for all your podcasting needs. When we first started this podcast, we knew we needed a service that would let us record remotely. After doing some research, Zencastr was the obvious choice. We started using Zencastr and never looked back. It's super easy to record a podcast with Zencastr. All you do is log in, invite people to join your room, and start recording a high-quality podcast right away. You can record studio-quality sound and up to 4K video with your guests. You can rest easy even if you have an unstable connection, knowing Zencastr's multi-layered backups ensure you always have your recordings in the highest quality. We do all our recording in Zencastr, and when the episode is ready, we can distribute it to all major podcast platforms. Zencastr has made podcasting so much easier with its all-in-one podcasting platform and tools. Go to zencastr.com/pricing and use my code BrocktonbaybC, and you'll get 30% off your first month of any Zencastr paid plan. I want you to have the same easy experiences I do for all my podcasting and content needs. It's time to share your story. That's zencastr.com/pricing and use our code BrocktonbaybC. And now back to our scheduled programming.
I like how the governments in this world, but like that is just a solution they've clearly used before and aren't afraid to use again, where they're just like, well, we give up, just wall it off, abandon it. Like that's kind of half the subplot in this whole arc is do they just abandon Brockton Bay? Like that's part of the whole mayoral debate, right?
Yeah.
So it's just like that is a legitimate strategy that the government just does.
You know, it's a common theme in a lot of movies, you know, just wall the city off and drop a nuclear bomb on it, you know? I'll be honest, I don't know why we don't do that more now. You know, we talk about build a wall, but have we thought about doing that to just, I don't know, Detroit?
Controversial take from Alan Alert.
Yeah, God.
All of our Detroit
If
fans,
it was Rick and Morty, then it'd be like they switch realities.
Yeah, right there.
Yeah.
The reality.
All right,
swap.
this reality's dead.
Yeah. No, that is true.
Like wash their hands of it and like, moving on.
Squirrels rule this one.
I already have the
Give it to the
meme
squirrels.
format, Jacob. It's the all right, in and out of Ellisburg, 15 minutes, super easy adventure.
In and out adventure. Just with Piggott and Thomas Calvert. In and out 20 minutes.
It's either that or it's just a hard cut to Donald Glover in the helicopter, Michael.
Yep.
From Mr. and Mrs. Smith.
Yep.
After
new
covered in
format.
blood.
Yeah, covered in blood.
Yeah, just
How'd it go?
away.
It was great.
1,000 yards there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that the heroes were the first to be like, yeah, fuck it.
Yeah. Oh God, that's got to be such a horrible realization for the normies, just to be like, hey, where's our superhero backup? Oh, they left.
Yeah, what do you mean they fucking
They couldn't
left?
crack it and they flew off. Like, what?
Yeah.
I feel like Worm just is the personification of the there's always a bigger fish meme. Or it's just no matter how strong you are, there's always an Endbringer or a Nilbog or it's just something else out there that's just bigger and badder than you are. Yeah, or the 9. Exactly. There's just always a bigger fish in Worm. And if you're outclassed, you got to go home. Cut your losses.
You just go home.
You know?
Just go home. Hope they don't follow
if your home still exists.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. All right, shall we move on? We got a Ways to go.
We do have a long way to go. Chapter 3.
Okay, real quick though, can I spoil something that occurs later in the arc as a theory for this interlude? Okay, we learn later that Thomas Calvert is in fact Coil. Yes. And I realized that, so I went back to this and I was thinking about the way that Thomas Calvert was speaking about how he escaped Nilbog's creatures. He talks about how the person in front of him, he said they were going too slow, so I killed them and took their place. Now, my theory is that this is when Coil had his trigger event. He only knows this, and if you look at the way he speaks about it so surely, as if he says, if they hadn't, I would have died. Or if they hadn't gotten out of the way, or if I hadn't killed them, I would have died. He speaks about it so surely. Makes me think that was his trigger, created two realities, one where he waited for the guy, one where he didn't, and of course went with the one where he survived.
Interesting.
So just a theory. There's
like
no way to confirm that, of course.
I like it.
I like it a lot.
Can we look it up?
Maybe.
I mean, I'll look it
gonna
up
look
see
it
if
up.
there's anything in the...
I don't think they ever
I'll
talk
look it
about
up
Coil's
really
trigger.
I just want to see if maybe something says it in the wiki.
Oh, true.
I'm scrolling right now.
I don't often have a big brain moment, but this was mine for this arc.
Yeah, I like it.
Oh, I
You have
think...
a pretty big brain. Nick.
It says he bought a power from Cauldron.
Yeah.
Damn it.
Oh. I like yours better. I
Your
like the
version's
idea
better,
that
Wild Bow.
Yeah.
You need to errata your text, change it.
Yeah, no, we're gonna
Change
port
it
that
post-op.
over to the dissecting worm.
Yeah,
That
we'll
is
take
getting added.
We'll take it. I like it. It makes
Wow.
sense. I like it.
I guess he does technically need it.
I was going to say, I don't think
Cauldron
they ever mentioned. I mean, it must be in like a later chapter of the story where they mention that Coil bought a power or something. Because I have no recollection.
It's maybe later with more cauldrons.
I might imagine that, like, because him and, you know what? I'm not even going to say anything. That way Michael doesn't have to edit it out.
Okay.
No spoilers in this podcast.
None whatsoever.
If you want to hear more, go to the wait for next week.
Yeah, Dissecting Worm.
No. I hadn't thought that much about it, other than the fact that he just like openly admits that he murdered somebody.
Yeah,
because doesn't he get stripped of everything because of it, right?
I'm just, I'll go to jail for a couple of years. I'm getting court-martialed, yada yada, and like at first, him and Pigott are like bonding kind of, and then he reveals like, yeah, I just casually like killed the guy while I was on my way out. It's taking too long, yada yada. Yeah. And she's like, God damn, I'm the only sane person left. Which super Pigott like line. Just like, I'm the only sane person in the entire world. Like, yeah, sure you are.
All right. So
I mean, I'm sure it felt like it after that insanity disaster.
True.
Yeah.
Speaking of only sane person, though, I will say, my God, does Pigott hold her own in this chapter, chapter 3 here? With,
Pigott don't give a fuck.
The whole Undersiders. She is just like, this feels like a conversation between a bunch of teenagers and a veteran of this whole world.
Yeah.
Like she's just like doesn't have time for their
we
BS.
were talking about what pet she would be if getting abducted. She's not a parakeet, she's not a hamster. She's just a goddamn honey badger. She's not supposed to be a pet. She's in the corner and you're like, why the fuck is there a honey badger here? And then you go to take it and you get out with it in a blanket, but then you're in a van with a honey badger,
Yeah.
And it's here to fuck your shit up.
I just like her interactions with Tattletale. Like, I think her back and forth is so good with Tattletale of like the game. Like, even when we saw during the Slaughterhouse Night on them on the phone, like they're back and forth and I'm gonna be interested to see how this goes. Like, yeah, I'll put a sock in it. Like, I don't want to hear it.
Yeah.
Yeah. That being said, this entire conversation is what, like, I get it from Taylor's perspective. Why everybody on the hero's side is so fucking frustrating. Because, like, Pigott brings up the Bakuda incident. That's no one's fault. Like, that's
Right.
that's one
Right.
person's fault and one person only. Like, oh, when will you take responsibility then? That she like whips out right after. It was like, I don't know. Maybe when it's actually my fault. Like, and then like, like, God, just fuck her. Fuck her the entire time. She's a piece of shit. I'm glad she got off her hemodialysis machine. I hope she never gets back.
Damn.
Yeah, she gets her. She gets thrown under the bus here in a couple chapters. So, well,
yeah. If only it was a real bus and not a metaphorical one.
Jeez.
I like her. I think that she's good for the position that she's. I'm like, she doesn't have a lot that she can work with, and as like one of the normies, like I think she does very well for where she is. As of course, under the capacity that like the heroes don't seem to do a ton of good, but like what they do is always a little weird and skewed. But like, I think for what she has to work with, Pigott does a pretty decent job.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. I mean,
she is like situation.
She's a civilian trying to wrangle in a bunch of capes that are essentially gods, and here she has to try to control everything, maintain order in the city, probably balance a budget somewhere from federal funding. That's who knows how that gets distributed. It's just like she is. I don't know how she sleeps. It's got to be the most stressful job in the whole world.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. The inability to bend or work it. Like, I get it. They're villains. I get they're doing villainy shit. But like, at this point in time, this is like Endbringer. Like, you should have a little bit of a grace period post Endbringer where like, hey, we're all trying to improve the city here. Like, what was the worst thing you did? Run out the white supremacists? Like, yeah, bitch, you know what? I get it. Bitch, kind of an issue. Understand that. But everybody else, like, fuck off. Like,
yeah.
This is the same problem I have with Weld showing up and being like, hey, travelers, I know it wasn't you. And it's clearly a problem that we need to deal with. And we're all tired because we just fought the Endbringers, but I need to arrest you and bring you in for questioning. And they're like, dude, like, fuck off for a second. And Pigott is just that on steroids.
Therein lies one of the main struggles of Worm. Is who's right, who's wrong? Who deserves power?
It is
not Pigott. It's
and not Thomas Calvert either.
Yeah, very easily, answered questions. It's not her. Let's start there. Also, she does whip out, Lisa's real name.
Oof.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, that's right. I forgot about. Yeah, just forget about that.
And it's even better because she's like, how do you know that? Like the same way you know everything. Like, I bought it.
Yeah.
She even whips out the info about her parents too. Like, I think they're still looking for you. Jeez.
Oh, gosh, it's ruthless. But
yeah, at the same time, though, I kind of do get it. I mean, as somebody who's responsible for the city, for the heroes, I mean, again, it's not to the Nilbog level where they're just like, you know what, screw Brockton Bay, let's just let the Undersiders have it. There's still people there who are worth saving in their mind. And yes, the Undersiders are helping, but as she implies, she says, look, you're not doing any of this for free. And I know that. And you know that, even if you don't want to admit it to yourself. You're doing this so that somebody can take control and own the city, whether or not, no matter what happens. Like, this is not, don't pretend like you're really in the mood of charity. The problem is that we're in Skitter's head. And Skitter does still feel like a good guy. She does still feel like a good person. I think the other Undersiders probably get it better to where they're like, yeah, no, we're bad guys. We get that.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I think this is one of those. My issue with this is like I think that Thomas Calvert has the correct approach on the big scale, which is let the villains divide up and take care, like actually take care of their section of the city, sort of run all the other bad guys out. So it's just them. We have a somewhat, stable city. And then you just weed out, beat bad guy by bad guy who's left. Like with the heroes. All, all Pigott had to do was the same plan. Let those villains do their thing while you consolidate power. Things are up and running. Those guys don't want any more villains, encroaching on their territory. So you just, you build up the city a little bit and then you go in, you take out those, 5 heroes because the travelers are like on their way out. Like,
you mean 5 villains?
5 villains, sorry. Yeah, like Coyle has the right idea.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been perfectly fine if Pigott just did it. But, she's dumb and stubborn like a mule.
I see what you're saying.
Honey badger.
Yeah.
She's a lot of things to a lot of people, Hannah.
A lot of things to you.
Yeah.
I got a lot of feelings.
Yeah.
No,
but they're on a timeline here. They've got to go on a time crunch.
Yeah, time crunch.
There we go. On a time crunch, they got to go help bitch.
21 hours, I think, is what Coyle said to take care of the situation.
Yep. And things are falling apart. So,
yeah.
Dragon's still out there. I think we got next couple chapters you want to group up?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that leads us into chapter 4. The Undersiders head towards the train yard where Bitch is to help. Bitch is fighting this like rebuilding immortal dragon robot, which is really obnoxious. And they all just run away because there's not really a good way to defeat it. Chapter 5, Taylor realizes dragon specialty, takes a detour through the mall and gets caught by one of the dragons, and then tricks her way free by utilizing what she knows about the AI to kind of trap this little dragon into a sticky situation. And then dragon retreats. And I'll stop there.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Finish up the deal with the old dragon. This is Azazel, right? Is the
yes,
suit they
Azazel,
fight?
I think.
Or wait, the one at the train yard?
Not the one
train
at the train yard.
Melusina.
Oh,
yes.
You're right.
Yes.
Then okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that all the different suits. They're called suits, but they're all AI. They're just
once again, I imagine a lot of them look like Zoids.
What?
The animal. You type in Zoid, you'll understand.
No, you cut out. We didn't hear what you said.
Oh, I said they all look like Zoids.
Zoids.
Yeah, I could see that totally.
Yeah.
Do we want to play Guess That Suit now? As we're moving into the dragon section?
We might as well.
So there's a bunch of fun names thrown out for all of these suits. I believe we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7 suits. 7 suits, but 8 fun names. So I knew about half of these, and I had to look up 3 of them.
Because they're all dragon references, right?
Yes. So starting with the Cawthorn. I had no idea about this, but it's a town in England famous for having a dragon in the well.
I know that one.
Yeah, I did not know that one. And
I had no idea.
Yeah, and that is our foam dispenser one.
Okay.
I'm just going to guess that's a general, like, pulling water from the well, foam from the robot. I like, that's the best.
No, I like it.
That works. That's good. Yeah.
All right. We have Glaurung. Now, this one,
that one I
2 of you.
From. What is that from?
I'm sorry,
what is Glaurung from? I feel like I should know what that's from.
You and Jacob specifically should know what this is from.
I was going to say, give him a second to think about it.
I might not know a lot about this lore. Not nearly as much as I want to.
I
knew this.
It sounds Middle Earthy.
You're onto something.
Yeah.
It does sound like Elvish.
Is it the dragon in Beowulf?
No.
Dragon.
What was the name again? One more time?
Glaurung.
Nerd.
Yeah,
Is it a Lord of the Rings thing?
It's Lord of the Rings, right?
It is Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I was gonna say it sounds very Tolkien, but I can't place it. Glaurung. I only know
Glaurung.
a few Lord of the Rings.
Is it a sword? in the
No,
Hobbit?
you think of Glamdring, the foe hammer.
No, I know
my God.
Glam.
Orc cleaver.
Okay, go ahead. What is it?
Glaurung is the father of dragons. It's the first dragon,
Oh, it is the first dragon,
as
isn't
we
it?
all know,
Oh.
which is why it's the drone
we all know.
deploying robot.
Oh, I like
Oh.
that.
Yeah, that's
that
clever.
makes sense.
Clever girl.
Father of
Yeah.
dragons. Gotcha.
As we all
All right,
knew,
all right.
because Colin probably worked on this with Dragon. Fucking nerds. No wonder they got bullied so hard. Colin got bullied so hard, he had to change his name and move
Stay
to a
on
different
topic.
city.
Stay on topic.
Sorry. We have Ladin, which is, as we all know, the Greek 100-headed serpent that
course.
torments
Oh.
Atlas
Oh, of course.
and guards the golden apples. Which is why it's
Wait,
probably
I actually did know about that. Wait.
Yes, you did. Yeah, see?
See,
I'm sorry.
you're becoming a nerd.
You nerd.
I was
you
one
nerdy
all
nerd.
along.
Everybody nerd.
Nerd.
And that's probably why it's the force field dragon, is my guess.
Yeah. Protector.
Pythios, which I did not know, and I actually had a hard time looking this up, but I'm guessing at best it's a version of Python, which is the Greek serpent that guards the center of the earth.
Okay. I was going to say Pythios is definitely a Greek reference based on the name alone.
Yeah. But, Pythios, Python, somewhere in there.
Yeah,
and I'm guessing that's the wheel, which I still have a hard time figuring out the whole wheel thing, other than I think it sucks organic matter, or maybe like
Something like that.
people with passengers towards it specifically.
Mm-hmm.
Just
Some
does
sort
some
of
goofy ass shit.
Yeah, some
Yeah.
some real goofy ass shit. Which brings us to Nidhugg.
Nidhugg I've heard of before, and I am really trying to remember where it's from.
Yes. I'm guessing that also a variation of that would be Nidhogg, which is
Yeah.
That might be what I'm thinking of, honestly.
Nick, you would know that as the super powerful bow from the Fire Emblem games, of course.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
But
that's like a Norse thing, isn't it? Nidhogg?
It is a Norse thing, Michael. Very good. Nidhugg is the serpent that eats at Yggdrasil's roots.
Okay.
I often confuse it for Jormungandr, which is the world serpent.
Yeah, the one that goes around the
Yeah. So different one. This is the one that eats at Yggdrasil's roots, as opposed to wrapping around the world. So a much smaller scale one. Also a very fun 2-player sword fighting game. You get the chance. Buy the first one, maybe not the second one.
Pythios is another name for the Greek deity Apollo.
Okay,
And
like wheel chariot across the sky.
Apollo slew the serpent. You know.
Yeah.
Did he fight Python?
Yeah. Or I guess.
Okay. I can vibe with that.
Yeah, he fought.
Makes sense with the wheel, the chariot. He rides his chariot, and that's the sun.
There you go.
And this thing. Okay. Astaroth, which I know we're all thinking Soul Calibur.
Yes.
Right. Astaroth from Soul Calibur. But that's also a biblical reference, right?
Not quite. It is definitely, we'll say extra canonical.
Yeah.
I don't remember exactly which book, but somewhere in probably I'll say Babylonian Hebrew lore.
Legends.
He's one of the
known as the Great Duke of Hell in the first hierarchy.
One of the
Beelzebub and Lucifer.
Yep, part of the unholy trinity.
Yeah, the evil trinity. Yeah.
Yeah, I got my book of angels right here. And that is I forgot to say, Nidhugg is the jumbo liner that they fly around in, by the way.
Nice.
Astaroth is because that's what is that? The Nidhogg Astaroth is one thing, I believe.
Oh yeah. Wait, I thought Nidhogg and Astaroth were separate. But it could be
No. There's one of them that has a double name. I'm pretty sure it's the Nidhogg Astaroth, and that is the jumbo liner. That's a mix of two that they use for flying around in. I don't think we actually encounter that one because Dragon and Colin are using that in one of the interludes.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
We get to the Melusinae, which does anybody know anything about that? Because I have it written down. This was one that was in the weeds.
It sounds
for me.
Greek. Melusinae.
Yeah.
Sounds like
it's actually
Latin
English. A little bit older than the Cawthorn thing, but same vein. It's a half dragon water spirit. Also half woman that can like reside in a well or body of water and does stuff. But that one
often depicted with snake-like features.
Yes. So that's the one that's forging the pieces within itself and like reincarnating
the
or whatever.
One that's at the train yard.
Yeah, I don't really get the connection there necessarily. Yeah.
Well, she turns into a dragon. It
is a dragon. You can't win them all.
Jason.
And finally, of course, the Azazel, which is supposed to be the super anti Slaughterhouse 9 one, I believe. Is that the one that has the weird like Tracy lines that cages with the nanotech barbed wire or whatever it's called? Yeah.
Yep.
And that one is actually in the Bible. It's where the scapegoat goes when you have the two lambs. One goes to God and one gets, all the sins of the people are put on it and it gets set loose into the wilderness.
Yeeted to hell.
Yeah, the wilderness is called Azazel. Forgotten of God, get the fuck out of here. And yeah. Or if you look up in, some Enochian literature, the Book of Enoch has that he taught men warfare and how to make weapons. So it makes sense that like that's the one that's coming to kick the Slaughterhouse 9's ass.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
I like it. Thanks, Alan.
And it's kind of the idea of like they're putting all of their resources into this one big one. So it's kind of like all the sins go to that. In a sense, I could see that there.
Yeah, it's a bit interesting because that is a pre-flood angel teaching them all that, and it sort of brings about the flood. But as a parallel to this one, we've already had our Leviathan flood, and now we're learning about warfare.
There we go.
Nice. All right, like I said, you can't win them all.
That's good. I like it.
Hey, look,
that was a
Wild
fun segment.
And by proxy, Dragon just on it with these names.
Yeah, it's fun. I love his name choices. I feel like it's been a while since we've done some real exploring into names because most of the ones have been pretty upfront, I think.
True.
And this was a fun one to dive into because I was like, I know all these nerdy ones. And then I looked them up and I was like, I don't know some of these. What the heck is a Cawthorn?
Yeah, I'm just imagining. We need a scene, cut to Dissecting Worm podcast. We need a scene, obviously, where we cut over to them working on suits and Dragon's like, AI plugging in, building all these suits and Armsmaster, Defiant's just in the corner on the laptop going like, coolest dragon names.
Yes.
Just doing like a little wiki search.
Yes.
Spinning in a spinny chair. Just
yeah. Have you, fingers are still steepled. Have we considered Smaug?
Yeah, exactly.
Fucking nerd.
Smaug.
Smaug.
Anyways, yeah. This is a cool robot.
It's a cool robot. It is.
Too many dragons. Too many dragons. Too many dragons. Too many dragons.
But but it's good because it's. I think Taylor says it's a good robot to go up against Bitch. Like Bitch isn't gonna walk away from a fight, and to have a robot that's whole thing is its whole shtick is that it doesn't die. Like it just keeps remaking itself. is like, bitch will never just run. She will always stay. And as long as she stays, she will never win. And so it takes Taylor convincing her that like, well, think about it as wins and losses. Like, you've had 7 wins. So like, let's just take the 1 loss and run for it. It's I don't know.
Yeah.
It's tactics on Dragon's part, but like, it's good tactics.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. It is very funny to imagine too. Just that whole interaction of it just won't die. We keep fighting and it won't die. And I can imagine Bitch's henchman like, can we go? And she's like, no.
We have to kill it.
I've been turned into
when
a cow.
it picks up the railroad, the rail pieces and just like folds it into itself. It's like, okay, I think we're dealing with something a little, because Taylor, like her first thing that she thinks when she comes up is like, how have they not killed this thing yet? And then it like swallows a bunch of railroad pieces and she's like, oh.
Yeah. I do love to just the density of Taylor for a moment where she's like, my bugs are inside of it and it's incredibly hot. And I'm like, yeah, you think? It's literally forging a new body every 5 minutes. It might be a tad warm.
Her phone's never gotten hot, just sitting in her lap doing nothing.
You've been scrolling for TikTok just a little bit too long. You realize that every app on your phone is open. You're like, why is my phone so hot?
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah. Also, once again, reminded that we ran out the Slaughterhouse 9 in less than a week. Like, that was 2 weeks ago when they announced that they were in town, and they ran them out in less than a week.
Yeah. Pretty crazy.
Wow. Yeah, well, still kind of a fun fight though. I really like, again, Taylor just knowing people so well. She's like, come on, you've beaten it 7 times, you've lost once, you have a winning ratio, let's move. And so they do. But then getting into the mall fight with Azazel. And
we're back at the mall.
Yeah, back at that damn
the main
mall.
character.
Yeah. Yeah. Just that the way that Taylor tricks Azazel is just brilliant and hilarious to me. With first even just kind of testing it for her to say, I'm gonna fall into the nano blades, she quickly realizes, oh, this thing has a setting to not kill us. I can use that to my advantage.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right.
Well, let's also start with the first one. The first way she tries to outsmart it, which is, this statement is false. A classic. And it just goes, I'm going to go with no.
Yeah.
Easy,
classic.
GG.
Solving paradoxes was the first thing I learned. Just, it's so funny.
It flips a coin, looks at it. Yeah, I'm going to go with false.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they do trick it.
Yeah. I think there's just not much more to say except, yeah, good job, Taylor. You did it. You tricked
Fun fight.
the robot, and
they'll never be human.
Yeah. Yeah. This is why. This reminds me too. Have you seen the thing where it was a meme where you could get around? So ChatGPT has this thing where it tries to prevent you from, asking it questions on illegal activity. But somebody found a workaround where if you basically ask it to help you hide drugs, but you don't use the word drugs, you use substance instead, or something like that, then it gives you a very detailed way to hide drugs and different methods for like sneaking it onto airplanes and stuff.
Oh gosh.
Oh my gosh.
That's basically what Taylor does here. She's like, Azazel's like, I don't think Imp is here. My sensors aren't detecting her. And she's like, no. She had a second trigger event. How would you know if she didn't? And the robot's just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just fun. This feels like Taylor really flexing her mental powers. And I know we haven't talked a lot about that, but it seems like maybe she has some mental powers too that come along with come along with her bug powers. And I think even that pamphlet that her dad had a while back ago mentioned that they suspected she had thinker powers. Or something like that, I feel like.
She suspects that she has some kind of subtle thinker power that allows her to essentially multitask at an infinitely complex scale, because she can control millions of bugs simultaneously and direct them individually if she chooses. So like she's got some type of thinker power there, and it would make sense that like a byproduct of just being able to do that is probably like being able to think pretty quickly. and so it makes sense that she's able to sort of come up with these sort of tricks and workarounds and think herself out of problems fairly quickly. It's sort of just a natural byproduct of her power, which is kind of neat.
She's smarter than me. That's for damn sure. Sometimes she just does stuff and I'm like, I don't even know. It just goes to show how smart Wild Bow is to write characters that are so good at parsing out these kind of issues and the problems. Is like, God, man.
Oh, yeah.
I can't write like that because I'm not that smart. Like writing complex things like that is a chore.
It's pretty awesome. It's almost like it's his full-time job.
Unbelievable.
I love how Alan got quiet because he's like, how do I talk about this without spoiling everything?
No, I'm just trying to figure out how to get, one of the AIs to, like, how to work around this thing. And unfortunately, it's beating me right now.
Alan's about to get an FBI call.
Oh, 100%.
Oh, no.
Nick, what have you done?
Well, Alan, I've enjoyed having you on the podcast. This was my ruse to get rid of you.
Oh, he's coiled me.
No, Alan, we do that later.
Oh, yeah.
No.
I mean, speaking of coiling each other, Chapter 6, Taylor and Brian.
Oh, can we go back for a second before we coil some more?
No.
I just want to mention briefly the when they were like, man, we can't use the glass to get people around, or can we? Cut to a magic carpet ride.
Yeah.
Yeah, on the door.
I thought it was a fun, creative way to get around. But that's all I could think of. Is like, they're on a magic carpet.
Yeah.
I thought it was more like tobogganing, like sledding through the city on glass.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chapter 6.
All right.
The group head separate ways. Taylor goes to check on her people, make sure that everybody got their food and their pork shoulder, whatever. Brian and her have a little heart-to-heart and snuggle up into bed together.
Oh, is that what they did?
Look, they did something in the dark.
Nick, I'm going to tell you straight up right now that the first time I read this, I glazed over this so hard. Like, I was like, and then they slept together. Like, literally, they fell asleep.
They crawled into bed.
He got the lights, and then they went because they were so tuckered out from everything. You know,
can we?
We're so tuckered out.
Yes. Night.
Yeah, because me with a combination of autism and being like way too innocent about this kind of stuff,
such an innocent boy,
glazed so hard over this, and now I'm like,
good Christian education. Trained to not see sex at every turn.
Yeah, man, it's a mind cucking, if you will. Like, I am cock blocking even in my head. Like, it's just a self censor bar constantly running. Just funny, because it was that I didn't remember that. I was like, oh wow, they hooked up. Okay, good for them.
Yeah.
Okay, so the thing though is that it's okay. So technically, Wildbow never says that they hook up. Taylor is just like clearly kind of
because he would
naked.
Never use such crude language.
Like
Hannah.
no, well
These
Taylor's
are
like
children.
clearly. She's clearly naked and she's like got the sheet wrapped around her later and whatnot. But like, there's no mention of like sex
it's heavily
having
implied,
happened.
but yeah.
Yeah, but it also could have been like, I don't know.
Google.
Don't
Here's
Google
the thing.
anything. No.
Brian and
It's the same
Taylor
way. It's the same way that
Bone.
me and my wife,
Alan,
we have
shut
2 kids. You just lay in bed naked together, and then suddenly you have kids.
Is that how it happens?
That works.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That's how my parents told me it happened.
You have to turn out the light first, though.
Yes, turn off the light.
You have to
You
do it
just
in the
lay
dark.
under the covers together, and then babies happen. It's truly a
man.
mystery.
Oh God, painful.
But no,
Painful.
it's a weirdly sweet scene between them in the midst of a very chaotic arc. It feels like,
Yeah.
yeah. But we've talked about it before. Reading this the second time through, I feel more that Brian and Taylor are actually a bad couple.
Yeah.
At first, I think I kind of thought, they're a good couple. They're good for each other. They both have their shared trauma and all of that.
Mm-mm.
But I think that's reading it the second time, and as a slightly older person, in the 6 years of wisdom I've gained since then. But I don't know. It comes
Wisdom
across a
and
lot
marriage.
more. Yes, it comes across a lot more unhealthy than it did the first time. And I think part of it is you're kind of wowed by the action, so you miss the interpersonal stuff the first time you read Worm. So coming back to this, I was like, this feels icky. And it's mostly Brian. And, well, no, it's both. It's both of them.
It's both.
They
of
both
them.
feel a bit icky. It feels more like they're 2 people who've been through terrible things. They get thrown together by circumstances. They like each other. They're attracted to each other. But they're really just kind
Trauma
of
bonding?
using each other medicinally. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
In the sense of like, we both feel bad and this feels good. So let's do something that feels good.
Yeah.
And it feels a lot more unhealthy the second time around, I think.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree. And I don't think that there's anything wrong if they were both like, yeah, we just need companionship and we just want that and that's it. Like, I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But clearly they both like want to have this relationship and it doesn't feel like it is trauma bonding.
Yeah.
Like, in my
They're
opinion,
young, they're dumb.
yeah, they're so and I think Taylor talks about it in the next chapter, in chapter 7 after the interlude, but like the weird backward nature of their relationship, how they like had all of the, the big stuff happening and then it like backs up into the friendship and then, now they're after having slept together, they're going to have their little like, oh, what movies did you like growing up? Like it just feels I don't like it, mostly because I don't like Taylor is so young. And I think I just don't like the way that she sees Brian. It doesn't feel like she sees him all the way. And like she
because
clearly
of his powers.
Well, because it's too dark. I can't see anything. No, but like even her asking to turn out the light is like, if you're not comfortable enough to like, I don't know, be in your skin, like maybe you shouldn't fuck. Like,
I kind of get that one actually.
To be in the dark, I don't know. I guess I just don't think
it's a cumulative effect. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. It's the addition of a lot. That's what's been going on in the previous arcs too.
Right.
With their relationship and how it's developed over time. I don't know. It's
especially considering Brian's interlude as well. Like we don't get a ton of his perspective throughout any of this. We get his initial rejection of Taylor several arcs ago, where he's like, hey, listen, I just don't really see you like that. I hope we can stay friends, yada, yada. Then we get his post-traumatic experience interlude where Taylor is a comfort, but that's really all she is. Like he's using her not in like he's using her, but like she's just it's not a romantic connection. It's just
trauma bonding.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's trauma bonding. Yeah.
It really is. That's what it is.
We used to work at, camps, or if anybody's ever, been to something that's an intense short amount of time, whether it's a camp or, going to the summer fling concept that just in it as a whole, or, the first 2 weeks of college freshman experience. Like, you're going through a lot with other people, and there's this intense, deep bonding,
Close
and
proximity.
like close proximity being a major part of it, and like a very quick dive into, like, I'll say intimacy in the sense of like playing, get to know you games, essentially. And bonding through shared experience. And in this case, it is like you said, it's trauma bonding. And they're literally like the only people that they're kind of remotely interested in and near at all during this time. Like,
Yeah.
and they don't even seem now as much that much into each other, but it's just like, oh, they're conveniently nearby.
Yeah.
And like, which I've seen this, live and in person, I don't know how many times by people.
Yeah.
It's like, oh no, we should be a couple. I'm like, no, you two aren't good for each other. You're not even like good for you two to be around each other. Like, you just have these odd moments of rest where you both rest together and you're like, oh, we're both exhausted and we're both dealing with the same problems, generally speaking. Therefore, that must mean we're meant to be together. And it's like, no, you just both are near each other and find each other moderately attractive. Like,
and you're teenagers, and so you're super fucking horny.
Yeah.
Like,
which is the other thing. These people don't even feel like they felt horny a little bit before. Like, at this point in time, they don't even feel that horny. They kind of feel like the feeling of like, oh, I guess this is what we'll do. Like, it even
it's an
feels
emotional thing. Yeah.
Which we talk about this kind of continuously. I'm assuming this is on purpose. Wildbow's writing. Like, Taylor gets what she wants. She gets to kiss and then cuddle with Brian in the interlude, and she hates it. Or not. Like she's like, great, I got what I want. Like, got what I wanted. Doesn't feel good. Like, it's whatever. And then we get to this, and they even talk about afterwards, like, it wasn't great. Like, it just it happened. And
I get the sense for Taylor too. Yeah, I don't know. I get the sense too. This is Taylor's first time.
I guess.
I guess
it probably is, but it didn't feel.
It wasn't feel like
dramatic enough.
She's just,
but also at the
16,
same time,
so like. And I mean, she's been bullied pretty hard for the past bit, and like she's really only had Emma in her life. So like, who else is this 15-year-old fucking?
Yeah.
Like, I see this as it being probably a first time. Wait, sorry, my language. But like, I don't. It's just sure, a first time is like super awky, like super awkward, especially when you're a teenager and you don't know how your limbs fucking work. Like, it makes sense, but just I don't like it.
I also just got the sense reading it too, especially with the whole like, PG-13 fade to black, that it just probably wasn't something Wildbow was too interested in writing too much detail on, which is fine. Which is
that's
if anything,
you need it as a plot point. You don't need it.
Yeah,
you don't need it on page. Yeah,
and the truth is that it does everything it needs to do without any sort of detail. So like,
right.
It's fine written the way it is. We get everything that we're like, but just in terms of reading into those, like, oh, is it her first time? All that kind of probably doesn't matter really, because it doesn't change their dynamic, which is
their bad dynamic.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
The kind of thing that the Netflix adaptation would spend way too long on.
Don't even get me started.
Yeah, let's not. Hey, as my note for you guys doing Dissecting Worm, don't do it. Don't do it. Here's the thing. I read plenty of smut books, and while I'm never opposed to like a nice smut scene, this is not that. Like, this is not.
Yeah.
I'll tell you right away, my suggestion for this is they go to start doing something and then they end up just falling asleep on the bed. like they go to like, oh yeah, let me get you out of that, and then like she turns over and he's like asleep in the pillow, and she's like,
fast asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One
she like
hand
feels
on a
her
button.
feels his hand fall off the zipper as it's zipping down her costume.
A slow snore comes from his lips.
Brian?
Brian?
I think, Hannah, you should join
but
us
it's
in
still dark.
dissecting.
It's still pitch black dark.
Maybe.
Yeah.
His power is
like,
still on.
It's fine.
She's just like, oh, no.
It's okay. She can't see, so she can't she doesn't know where to put her glasses, and she's scrambling around in the clouded darkness.
That's the only reason she's naked is because she just had to take off her costume but couldn't find anything else. She's like, I don't want this flavor to seal in, but I'm not getting out of bed to try to find anything else.
Also,
you know what?
That she didn't shower until the next day. It was so gross.
That's my headcanon for right now. That's what happened.
We'll roll with that for Dissecting Worm. Yeah.
That's fine.
Perfect.
It's good.
Also, maybe it's because I'm 30. I just don't want teenagers to have sex. I just don't like it. Your brain's not developed
now.
Yes,
I agree with you. I agree with you now. It's it's one of those things where in principle I'm like,
you do you, just be safe.
Yeah, you do you, just be safe, yada yada, some good ethical boundaries and whatnot. But then I look at teenagers, because I got brothers, and I'm like, y'all shouldn't be fucking for another 10 years for
At
sure.
least. Y'all are so dumb.
If you knew what a sex was, God,
Aww.
I mean,
so protected.
You think it's bad now? Just wait until if you ever, end up having kids.
Yeah, no.
And it's just like,
no.
Perish the thought.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh no. I'm going to have to talk to these little humans about this process at some point.
That is not, look, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. That bridge is the Boston, Baltimore bridge, whatever, the one that just fell down.
Yeah, that's the bridge.
Yeah, you could be like
Baltimore.
my parents and just don't.
Just hand them a book and be like, hey, look, this is
my sister still has not gotten a book.
Here's the stick in the hole.
She got married and didn't have the talk.
We've come full circle, or should we say full stick and hole?
Good ellipse.
All right.
Okay, what a great transition.
Great transition into our second interlude.
Yeah. Keep going. Please take it away,
Our
Hannah.
second interlude, Defiant is following up on the Slaughterhouse's 9 trail, investigating a hospital attack where they have really just decimated a hospital, a small town hospital. Talks between himself and Dragon, and is trying to track down the Slaughterhouse 9. And he discovers, while he's kind of futzing around in her code, that Dragon is a parahuman. She has gone through some form of trigger event and is a tinker. But right on the end of that little bit of news, Dragon mentions that she needs to tell him about Cauldron. And we end on this lovely little cliffhanger there. Which, gosh. I would love to see more of Defiant and Dragon interludes, because their dynamic is so interesting.
Nick, as an artist, or anybody listening, what I would like from you is a 3-panel comic of just Dragon and Defiant, just chit-chatting while they're working. That's all I want. Just them being a couple of nerds where one of them says something and then the other says something and the other looks up and just is like, what? Just 3-panel comics of that. I think it would be great. I think they have great chemistry.
Yeah,
it's a vibe.
It's one of those moments where you're like, oh no, the character you hate is kind of relatable.
Yeah.
Because, I don't like, none of us really like Defiant or Armsmaster. And yet...
Hey, speak for yourself.
And yet you kind of do. No, that's what I'm saying, though, is like up until this point, we still kind of hate Armsmaster. And of course, he's still a douche. We know that. But this arc and his conversation with Defiant, and even though he's going weird psycho cyborg version of himself, he legitimately wants to stop the worst kinds of villains. And he's doing everything in his power to stop them, right?
Mm-hmm.
Granted, it's for a self-serving, but again, it's is that going back and forth of is he stopping them for self-serving reasons or because it's a good thing to do? But no, their dynamic, I agree, Alan. That dynamic is just such a good one. This is a fun arc, fun interlude, rather.
It feels like there is a difference though between Defiant and Armsmaster. That Armsmaster was very cocky and self-assured, and and the way that he talked to Taylor is like very different from the Defiant now. That seems a lot more self-introspective. I think probably because of his interaction with Mannequin and everything that happened, and like he's kind of had to self-analyze quite a bit after all of that. But like I much prefer this Defiant version. Like he mentions that he was probably too harsh on Taylor, and that like maybe what he did caused had repercussions in what she ended up becoming. Like I think I like this Defiant that we're seeing now as opposed to the Arms Master that we knew from the beginning of the story.
I do love, though, that he takes human sensitivity training from the AI.
Yeah, I love that.
In his conversation with the sheriff, where he's like describing what's happening and going into grisly detail about how Hook Wolf killed all of her people. Yeah. Dragon's just like, chill. She doesn't need to know that.
Get to the point.
She doesn't need to know that.
Yeah. I love that. It makes Dragon seem so much more real, that she's more aware of like people's emotional state than he is.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, it's part of the whole, like, Dragon feels more human than so many of the other characters that we interact with. And it's, just that's what makes her such a great character, is that she does embody humanity so well, like the best bits of humanity. And it's like this little shining little beacon of hope that the reader has, which is hilarious because she's not human. She's a robot, and yet seems to be the best of us, kind of thing. Just kind of funny.
Yeah.
I don't think there was too much more in that interlude specifically, unless anyone can think of something. I mean, it's a great little, oddly enough, a kind of slice of life thing for you there, Alan. We get a little day in the life of,
and I enjoyed it a lot.
The big takeaway from this is that the Slaughterhouse 9 does exist still. They are recruiting.
Mm-hmm.
Hook Wolf went willingly, and they have another new member whose name escapes me.
Damsel of Distress.
Damsel of Distress.
Damsel of Distress. I'm pretty sure she's irrelevant, though. So,
Nick, I want you to hold your tongue.
Well, no, she seems kind of irrelevant. But I do like her name very much.
Put on Damsel like that.
I mean,
I will
as someone
not
who does not remember her,
I have admitted
that
when it comes to Worm, I have essentially Wormmentia.
Wormmentia.
But I do not recall her characters ever being named again.
Even a little bit. Well, the name Damsel of Distress kind of sounds sort of familiar, but I don't know if that's just because the phrase like damsel in distress, like I have no clue. I love the name. I think it's great. Especially if you're going to be a villain, the damsel of distress.
If I'm wrong, feel free to, post it in the comments and say why I'm wrong.
No spoilers though. No spoilers.
No spoilers. Just say you're wrong.
Just tell
she does get
Nick
mentioned.
Is wrong.
Yeah, just write that in 5 separate comments. Then don't forget to like and subscribe.
I love it. Okay, let's head on. I think the best way to do this is I'm just gonna group the whole incident, the next incident together. So that's chapter 7. Taylor and Brian say goodbye to each other in the morning, and Taylor heads over to her dad's house, meets up with him and his friends, and then heads over to the mayoral candidate debate. Chapter 8, Coyle and his minions attack the debate with Circus, Uber, and Leet. The wards come in to save the day, but unfortunately a bomb goes off, throwing the debate into chaos and killing Coyle, along with quite a few others. Chapter 9, Taylor awakens blinded by the bomb, but uses her bugs to see, is taken care of, patched up, taken to the hospital. Lisa comes to see her, and they make the realization that Coyle is actually Thomas Calvert.
I'm
gonna stop there.
Good stopping point. Yeah. Well, we got
holy shit,
Alan. We get another slice of life chapter for you, real quick. We get to talk to,
and I love it.
Get to talk to Danny's friends.
It's really fun.
Yeah,
Danny's got some interesting friends.
It does.
He's got
I don't know
doctrine.
necessarily if there's not a whole lot to like or dislike, but I found I thought they
I
were
like them
kind of
very much.
yeah, they're
He
kind of
seems
enjoyable.
very like sweet and soft with them, even though they're all kind of like a little bit harsher.
Yeah, they
But
got
I
that
like them very
classic like
much.
blue collar
Yeah.
vibe. And
Yeah.
even though he is also technically a blue collar worker, like he doesn't give off that vibe because he's this, glasses wearing, kind of
sweet.
skinny and tall.
Yeah.
Well, he's also like the supervisor kind of figure too, right?
Yeah.
I don't know. He reminded me a lot. My dad was in a lot of bands when I was a kid and still is. And this like gathering of people just chilling out, drinking beer,
Yeah.
shooting the shit, as they say. That it reminds me of a lot of those gatherings where, there'd be these really nice adults who, looking back, I'm like, it's kind of weird that, they were smoking and drinking with me in the room, but they're all really nice to me.
Yeah.
Just
And I
doing
don't know,
their
just
thing.
yeah, they're just doing their thing, chilling, being cool. I don't think they were actually smoking in the room with me, but drinking, yes. But it's just, I don't know, it's a very just average person vibe, and I do really like this in contrast to how few average people we really get to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very nice
Yeah.
little scene.
The normies.
And it's just
definitely.
nice. It warms my heart that Danny isn't just alone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Taylor,
Yes.
Taylor, you're not the only person who is worried about that, man. Just, I'm so glad Danny has friends.
Yeah. Danny has friends. Taylor. Let's think about that. Let's look at our friends. See who we're hanging out with. Look at the decisions we've made.
Yeah.
Gosh, also she forgot it was her birthday.
Yeah, she's
poor
16
girl.
now. Gosh. I mean, she was kind of in the middle of things
I was
with
gonna say,
Slaughterhouse 9, but
she does the little. She's like, oh, that was right when they were attacking everybody and bombs were going off. I guess kind of just missed the old birthday, but
Yeah.
understandable.
Whoops.
Understandable.
Like,
Yeah.
granted, as somebody who hates birthdays, and forgot how old I was from about the age of 21 to like 29, it still hurt to read this, to be like, oh, like,
yeah.
like you forget, like you missed your birthday. Like, because there's one thing to being like, I don't keep track of it. It's another thing to be like, I do, and I forgot that it was like a week ago. Like,
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
that feels like you lost it rather than like intentionally just don't think about it.
Yeah. Also, like 16 is kind of a big one. Like 16 is you're sweet 16 and you get your driver's license, at least in the US. And like this just it seems like an important birthday when it comes to a teenager, like especially a teenage girl. Like, oh man, like she's done a lot, but she's still just a kid. Like
Yeah.
kind of want that for her.
Also, I was dead convinced that Sweet 16 was something made up by MTV. Like,
Wait, what?
I like the concept
Sweet
of Sweet
16
16.
birthday?
Yeah. Like,
Oh.
why
Go
is that a
on,
big
go on.
age?
Because it sounds
like-
nice.
The
Like-
only ones that matter are 18 and 21. That's it. No other
I mean,
age matters.
Probably not
Quinceañeras
wrong.
are
Maybe
15,
65.
right?
Then you can order off the
Yes.
Denny's Super Senior menu. But
No, I mean like I think it's kind of 16 is like the point where you're no longer like a young teenager, like you're starting your I don't know, your ascent. I don't know.
It's the beginning of independence.
Yeah, it
for a
feels
lot of
like it
American
was an
teens.
important birthday. Like yeah, I had a big well, mine was weird. But my best friend had like a big ball thing. Like they rented out this whole big space and she had this giant poofy prom dress and yeah, it was a big deal.
It's
I had a
fun.
big
I think
16th
that's
birthday
weird.
party
A
too.
lot of cultures have, like you've come of age. Now
Yeah, it's
here's
like
your
a
coming of age
ceremony.
thing.
16 is like for a lot of places that's like the coming of age. A lot of cultures. So
Yep.
I guess it kind of makes sense.
see, I'm okay with that as long as the 18th birthday isn't also like a big thing.
You get one.
Yeah.
16
No,
or
there's-
18.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To the
No.
surprise of no one, Alan hates excessive happiness.
Yes.
No, Alan
should be a ban on it.
He just hates birthdays.
I do just hate birthdays. That's true. They were made up by Hallmark and to sell more cards and wrapping paper.
And that's why
They're
it
like,
means
we're not getting
all the
enough
more.
out of Christmas.
It means all the more when you do stuff for my birthday. Just so you know, it means a lot to me.
Oh, wow.
Very
You're a great
welcome.
partner. Good job, babe.
I feel like Alan has the Ron Swanson approach where, I don't want you, nobody bother me for my birthday. That secretly whispers, what I really want is a series of elaborate
Take me to my
puzzles.
favorite steakhouse.
Yeah.
A series of
No,
special puzzles.
I've leaned into the birthday party thing. Like, I think celebrating with people is a lot of fun. I just want my barbecue. But
Don't we all?
But I just think there's like the autism in me, just doesn't understand and fought my parents actively growing up when it came to like, what do you want to do for your sweet 16? And I'm like, that's a made up thing. You made that up. And they were like, no, lots of people do it. I'm like, I've never been to a sweet 16, so fuck off. Like,
Well, speaking of barbecues, we have one when a bomb is cued. I tried so hard there.
Yeah, no, that was.
I mean, honestly, it sounds like something Leet would do. Both the joke and the bomb.
Leet definitely made a joke, but it was a joke that was like where the punchline was cut off with the explosion, so nobody heard it.
Yeah, you got halfway through it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Man, what an intense
we forgot about the
here.
Cherish mine in the water still. It's like, man, some people get suicidally depressive if they're a mile within the bay.
They go near the docks and just want to die. Like, oh my God.
And the guy's like, trust me, I've been. I'm like,
jeez.
Bro, same.
Horrifying. Yeah.
Jeez.
That's just my neighborhood.
So this is again one of those moments where the tension is so well written, where I just loved the realization Taylor goes, she's at the debate, she's trying to have a normal day, and the realization, because she can feel out with her bugs, oh no, Coil is here.
Yeah.
And her desperately, she makes the message, I'm here, stop, he waves it away. The tension of what's going to happen, and just the realization of everything that happened, it's crazy. The tension in that scene was palpable. That was one of those one of those chapters where I just felt like I need to know what happens next because I am dying inside.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah. I have questions about this plan because, first time I read this entire sequence from starting here to the end of this arc, it was a blur. I'll be honest. It felt like I retained nothing and I kept having to reread pages because it goes on for a while, longer than I feel it should for one arc. I don't know what the choice there was, but man, I just want some explanations as to what the hell Thomas thought he was up to. Because that is a stupid plan.
The bomb?
Everything.
So it was, if I understand correctly, there was a few parts to it. So it's doing a few things. One, it's further undermining Pigot's role as director, which finally does get her the boot. Two, it solidifies, because of course he basically controls all the candidates, so he gets to control the outcome of the election without it looking rigged, because you have this whole explosion that went on. Three, it kills quote unquote Coil, so he doesn't have to worry about that anymore. He kind of takes care of that whole element. And of course, he's primed to take over Pigot's spot, so he's head of the PRT. It's sort of just the culmination of everything he's been trying to do, which really Taylor and the Undersiders haven't been too privy to the whole story. They've really only seen the Coil side of things. So it's kind of cool getting to see his plan fall into place without knowing exactly what it is until it's kind of revealed later on.
I'll succinctly bring all of my issues to one point, which is Coil blows up, and then immediately Thomas Calvert is there. That's my problem. Like,
What
we find out is that Thomas Calvert isn't just suddenly there. He's been an advisor for the PRT for years. And it's just that he's put his real persona in just such the position that he can be ready to step in when Pigott inevitably takes the fall.
Yeah, I don't buy the thought outness of Coyle walking in and like, granted, this is like a behind the scenes look from Taylor's point of view, but even outside of that, like he walks in and then almost accidentally gets blown up, like or blows himself up essentially.
Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, it's on purpose.
It just feels like a goofy stage gimmick, kinda like.
Well,
and maybe that's just because we see so much behind the scenes, but it's another one of those things where the plan and the pacing of the story unravels so fast that there's not a moment to breathe or even pretend that Coyle is dead. Like, maybe a paragraph and you're like, maybe he died. No, he didn't. Like, it happened so fast.
Yeah.
I could have used a chapter where we thought he was dead, maybe, and have the death be a little more believable. Like, I don't know.
And, I think part of the problem is we're dealing with people who've been close to Coyle. If we had been dealing with characters who hadn't been close to Coyle, I think it would have been appropriate to have that brief moment of, is he dead? Maybe he is, actually. I don't like he's gone. But because we're dealing with people who've been so close to Coyle, and especially Tattletale, who just knows things, I feel like it would be more contrived if they had that break of really thinking he was dead. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
I get
agree with that.
I just don't think, even from Coyle's point of view, like, knowing how the Undersiders know stuff, you would think that he would pull off something that was convincing. Like, because he's clearly trying to pull something, but even on the Undersiders and Travelers to like pretend like there's a facade there, like you think it would be convincing, and it's not at all. And from a reading perspective, as I'm reading it, I feel like there should be a moment of like, did he kill himself? Like, even if I got to questioning it, but I don't question it. He didn't kill himself because that would be dumb. Like the setup is dumb. I have a lot of beef with this section.
I don't know.
I have a lot of beef with this arc as a whole, but
I don't know. I don't know that I see it the same way, because I don't think he's trying to trick the Undersiders.
No.
I think that's why he's so dismissive when he realizes Taylor's there, is that he doesn't really care, because he knows she's going to figure it out anyway, whether she's there or not. So I don't know if I really feel that same way, just in the sense that I think it's meant to be contrived, because we know that he's had a plan in place. We know this has been his big move the whole time. This must have been. And so I don't know. I guess I just don't get the same feeling from this.
Yeah, at this point too, he has already, in one of his other timelines, has already tortured an Undersider and is aware of what they're trying. So he's beyond having a use for the Undersiders at this point too.
Right.
So it's just like he doesn't need them involved, anything like that. The fact that Lisa's Lisa cues them in immediately, and by extension the audience. But remember too that nobody else in Brockton Bay knows, one, that Coyle has a power, and two, how it works. The Protectorate probably have some idea that he's got to be powered in some way, but for everybody else, he's just a well-funded gangster. So
Also,
any sort of death is going to be believable.
Also, don't most people not know that the Undersiders work for Coyle?
Right.
Also, he's remained very separate from them.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, truthfully, we don't even know if the heroes know about Coil other than like he's a white collar crime guy that's in the city, unrelated to anything else. Like, because I think at one point they even talk about like, man, I think it's when Weld's getting the briefing, like, yeah, there was
Yes.
Coil. He's kind of gone underground because like, what the hell is a white collar criminal gonna do in a blown out city?
Oh, and that was the other part of it too, was the fact that the explosion comes from Kid Win. So it really looks like an accident from the side of the wards.
Yeah.
That this isn't a bomb that Coil had planted. It was like, everybody get down, I'm gonna blow everybody up, and then the bomb fails. Like this was an unintentional, quote unquote, of course, unintentional explosion from a ward, from one of the good guys that went awry.
Yeah, that's something specifically
I get all that. I just
that's something specifically said on the recording.
Plan.
You are free to be as wrong as you want to be, Alan. I love it.
Yeah. I genuinely just think it's mostly because we do have the inside perspective. I imagine if, I don't know who the focus character would be, but if for some reason Clock Blocker had been the protagonist, we'll say, I don't think we would have been as aware of knowing that Coil wasn't dead. But again,
it just
it is certainly it certainly does. Well, I will admit this though, it does go down in the long list of needlessly complex villain plans. I will admit that I'm like, okay, Coil, there's gotta have been a better way for you to have accomplished your goals, man. Like,
Coil,
this is like a 15 step.
Yeah, he's the guy that took notes watching Megamind and was like taking notes the whole time. Like, okay, this is good. This is good. I like this. Okay,
well, that's the thing is like I don't disagree with what he's going for. Ruling the overcity and the undercity kind of at the same time, like working its way into kind of cohesion and synthesis. But like, and even how he pulls it off of like killing off Coil so that he can take over as Thomas. Like, I'm with all that. Just him bursting into the room, which for a lot of people is, their first exposure to Coil. It really does feel like a big blunder of like, aha, I'm Coil. And like I said, it's not, like you said, it's not his fault that the bomb goes off. But even if I were Kid Win or somebody, I'd look at that and go, did this motherfucker just walk in for a first appearance as a villain and die? Like that, like it would be almost unbelievable. Like to anybody.
I get what you're saying.
It's just, it felt goofy, downright goofy.
I'll give you that. It does. Yeah, it does have like big Syndrome from the Incredibles energy. Where
I was going to go Incredibles, but I'm trying to think of one of the villains that fucks up more than Syndrome. Yep, we'll go with Bon Voyage. Like where they do something and they slip and they're like, uh-oh, and something blows up in their face.
Yeah.
Like that's what it felt like. And especially when Coil, maybe that's the part of it. Coil has been on top of his game this whole time. And, for Wildbow, as a meta critique, like Wildbow has been on top of his game when it comes to Coil this whole time. And Coil's been such a good villain for a variety of reasons. Part of which is, he's got this ability that helps him plan out, along with Dinah's ability, calculate things very well. Now, the excuse for anything in the Worm universe is, oh, well, Dinah calculated that out. So, the correct answer was, in fact, to serve salmon to the Undersiders, and then I become king. But, you could apply that to like, and, if I put on a clown hat in the next 5 minutes, does that, up my chances of defeating the Slaughterhouse 9? And Dinah's like, sure, I guess it went up 3%. And he's like, aha, my clown hat. Like you could arrange any goofy excuse at that point. And for him to be a serious, scary, well thought out character that makes calculated moves, this is a very elaborate maybe that's what it is. It's a very short-term play. When he is a long game player.
Mm-hmm.
This is direct action on top of that. Like Coyle is a background player that could have very easily disappeared with, I'm going to Boston, I'm going to Washington, I'm going to disappear, and I'm, gonna make an appearance over there, but then I'm just gonna like show up a week later as Thomas Calvert. And, it's a suit. Have somebody appear in the suit somewhere else, like in cover for you, just to say, oh, he was over in Washington and somebody shot him there. Like, and then Thomas Calvert is here at the same time. They were never seen this way. They were seen in the room kind of at the same time. Like,
not as dramatic though.
It's not as well. I will argue about drama. Like, yeah. I have lots of excuses. If anybody's got a better option, a better alternative to how he could have pulled this off, leave it in the comments.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, let us know. There we go.
Or if you think Alan's wrong, please feel free to leave that in the comments
would
too.
Never.
5 comment minimum.
Leave us a voice.
They would never because
message.
they know I'm right.
No.
I get the feeling there's
either
at least
I'm
one
right or they're
person out there
wrong.
who
Those are the
disagrees with
only
you.
2 options.
Anyway, we'll move past the old explosion. Taylor's blind, trying to find her way around.
That sucks.
Meets up with Lisa. Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie. I want Taylor to be blind for the rest of the series.
I had this moment reading it where I was like, wait a minute, because she talks about how she can still kind of quote see with her bugs. I was like,
yeah,
is this a thing? Does she have like vision problems the rest of the story? I was like trying to remember if this was a huge
I mean,
moment.
she
We'll
already
find
wears
out.
glasses.
But I'll tell you right now,
Mhm.
I want her to be blind, and we're gonna see if that happens. Because this is just the writing for it is so fun, and I love the fact that it like kind of she can't read faces, so she has to go on tone of voice and
Surprise,
kind of
surprise!
body
Taylor
language.
can't read faces on a regular day.
That's true. She basically has face blindness already. Crippling setback where everybody just kind of looks like a bug to be manipulated by her.
That's not what I said, but
it is what you meant. I understand.
But they do reconvene, meet up with the travelers.
Yes.
They all do the yeah, we know what's really going on here. And then they go to meet up with definitely not Coyle.
Yeah.
Director.
Yeah, that's chapter 10.
God.
I do love that line from the interaction between Alec and Thomas Calvert where he's like, undersiders. Alec just goes, we know it's you, boss. And he dismisses the guys and he's like,
yeah,
I would have hoped for a little bit more tact there, Regent.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice job,
You
dipshit.
dumbass.
Yeah, are we into?
Really
Sorry, did we do the
screwed it.
summaries for these next chapter?
Not
Did
yet.
we not? Because I still have so many thoughts that we've moved past. Like we've just blazed past a ton of stuff. Taylor, all it takes for Taylor to feel good about the wards, like to have them in a positive light, is for them to do one thing right. That's all it took. Like they're at the thing, Coyle jumps in, the wards stand up and they're like, Chariot, we knew, and they freeze him. And she literally goes, dang, maybe they were on top of their game this whole time. Man, the good guys are so awesome. And I was like, wow, Taylor, that's all it would have took was one positive interaction with the wards, with the good guys. Like that sucks that they failed that very small hurdle, boo on them for that. But is your bar also so low that that's all it took? Was one hug from someone and you're like, God, I haven't been hugged in forever.
Yeah.
That's what it felt like. And then just we have the trickster conversation and I forgot, I know I hate Trickster from all the other times I've read this. I've always thought he was an asshat and I hate him and I don't know why anybody listens to a goddamn word he says.
He's great.
And this, I've been kind of vibing with Trickster, maybe because I've just been blinded by his powers, He's been substituting out all these cool, things that he's doing for the fact that he's a piece of shit. And then we have this interaction and I'm like, oh, that's right. He's a fucking jackass. And if he could switch himself with a casket in the ground, that would be awesome. Like, God, I hated him so much. And all of those, I retroactively want to take back everything I ever said was cool about him. He should have thrown himself out of the building 3 times and let himself hit the ground.
No, I'm a Taylor. I'm a Trickster defender to the end. I think he's a fascinating and fun character. I talk about how much I love the Travelers. It's really Trickster. Like the rest of them are fine. They have really cool powers, but that's about it. No, I love Trickster. Great character.
Yeah, I agree.
Really
well,
good.
and the one of the few things that I remember from my warm Menchia is that we haven't really gotten the Traveler story yet.
Not yet.
And that is part of why they're likable, is once you know more about them, they're far more interesting. That said,
Are they?
I think so.
I don't remember what makes
We'll
them
find
interesting.
out.
I'm like a little kid in a
episode.
candy shop when it comes to Worm. I'm just like, wow.
Ooh. Okay, I'm gonna keep doing my summaries because I'm falling the fuck asleep right now. We still have 5 more goddamn chapters.
Maybe Wildbow shouldn't have written a fucking 100,000 word chapter, arc.
Maybe
so whose fault really is this?
2.
Maybe you should bring this up with JC,
We're coming near the end. We got 2 more big events. That's really it.
Yeah. Okay, so we've already kind of talked about chapter 10 a little bit. Taylor talks to the Travelers to kind of, feel them out a little bit, and they basically say, "We're not friends. Go suck a dick." And she's like, "Cool." They go and then go to meet Director Calvert and up on the roof, and she's, clearly a little nervous about their whole situation. He agrees to let Dinah go, but the entire time is very tense and stressful. And then all of a sudden, right when it seems like everything is finally coming together, she holds Dinah's hand. There's suddenly a blip, and Taylor finds out that she's been body swapped, and she's got a gun to her head. That is the end of chapter 10. The interlude 3 is, how are we saying it? Marquis or Marquis?
I think
it's Marquis. It's always been Marquis.
Gotta be Marquis.
That's how I've always pronounced it. So we're just gonna say Marquis. Marquis' perspective, a look into the birdcage and how Marquis and Amelia or Amy are doing. Kind of a small discussion of why they can't escape. We get a little bit of an idea into how things work in the birdcage. Amy tries to get a message out to Dragon, but something happens in the routing. The simmer reroutes the information somehow, and the AI files it as unimportant.
Gosh.
Should we stop there? And then we'll the last 3 will buckle together, but we'll stop here for now.
Yeah.
I didn't think that's how that happened. I thought that what Amy said was information that wasn't that relevant, and meanwhile the simmer.
That's not what I got at all. That's not what I got at all. It sounded to me that Amy's talking to Dragon. She's trying to get a message out to her, something important. And as the message is filtering through the system, the simmer happens to fly in front of a satellite or something, and the data gets scrambled. And then the data gets reformulated by the AI, but amidst the scramble and everything, the message, it gets flagged so many times that the AI just basically is yeah, it's fine. It's not a big deal. We're just going to file this with all the other things we've recorded from the birdcage, and the message doesn't get to Dragon because of it.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I did not get that at all. Am I stupid?
No, I actually reread it twice. This time reading it because I forgot about it the first time all those years ago. I read it and then I went back and I reread the section again because it is a little confusing. But no, Hannah's spot on. It's basically because what happens is Amy gets a read off of, oh, forgive me, Lord, Glastig
Wenye.
Wenye, thank you. God, was close. Glastig Wenye gets a read off of her, and it's intentionally ambiguous. The reader doesn't really quite get what it is, but whatever it is kind of really scares her, and she essentially wants to go find out how to tell dragon. Marquis says, you can go into your room, talk to the walls. She's always listening, essentially. And she does that, but her message is intercepted by the Simurf intentionally, and then scrambled, redirected, passed through the system so that nobody can see it. Which is crazy.
Fascinating.
Yeah.
It's kind of unclear. I will say it's kind of unclear whether the Simurf is doing this purposefully or if it's just an effect of it being near that particular satellite, which is part of maybe why it's a bit confusing.
I think
I wasn't sure about that
There's a couple subtle clues, and we'll cut this if we need to. I don't think this is spoilers because I think this is stuff we've already read. There's a couple subtle clues that implies that it is intentional. The chief one being that one of the Simurf's key attributes is that she doesn't move unless she's doing something intentional. So she is a stationary being until she moves somewhere. And she's moving.
And it says she changed her course.
Yeah, changed her course. She's moving here.
That's right. That's right.
So I guess I just wrote this as like, the Simurf is doing something weird that we bring her up. Stuff happens, and then the Simurf flies on.
Yeah.
I completely. This is a first. I didn't know that happened.
Nice.
I will say I probably picked up on it because the first half of this arc I read, and the second half I listened to, and it's the reader for this interlude was pretty good, and it just like all the pauses were perfect to make you realize that like, oh wait, that was important. Oh, that was important. Oh man, this is important. Like this is all very important. But the line is that 62 miles above the surface of the Earth, Simurf changed the course of her flight. And then the system's rerouting messages, and the resulting message was scrambled by the dense signature of the Endbringer and route to Dragon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which, fun fact, I had to Google that because I was like, that's an interesting number to pick there, Wildbow. 62 miles is like the exact as you can get kind of level where the atmosphere ends and space begins. So she's
like sitting right at the atmosphere level.
Yep, right at the top, which is high.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
She stays high all the time.
Man, I loved this. This whole interlude was great, though. I know we focused on the end, but I loved the birdcage interlude so much.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. I love Wildbow throwing some shade on Fade in there. For anybody who was a Fade series reader.
Oh, I missed that.
No, I have not.
Yeah.
I thought it was
like,
Twilight
those
reference.
Fade books. I'm like, I know Fade. I haven't heard that name in a hot minute, but that's, from what I remember, sort of a spy thriller series.
I thought it was supposed to be like a reference to like Twilight, because it was like a romance with a ghost.
Was that I was gonna say I didn't think that was the one. I thought that was a separate book they were talking about, because Fade is a series, so it's sort of in the Tom Clancy vein of like military thriller action stuff, with a main character nicknamed Fade. I just assumed it was throwing some shade on like, hey, don't you want to read the military like action thriller books? You're like, no, I'm good. Not really my style.
Yeah, didn't catch that at all.
That's funny.
But then again, I don't read books like that, so.
Yeah, I've never heard of Fade.
I loved all their theories about what the birdcage was.
Yeah.
And how they could break out or couldn't break out. And like, actually, we might be the size of a football. Just like, what the heck?
Compressed down and buried miles beneath the earth.
Yeah. Also, we had some interesting people, lined up for our cell block leaders.
Mm-hmm.
One of them I kind of forgot was in there, and it's interesting that he's a cell block leader. But y'all remember Gavel?
No.
Nope. Not at all.
So Gavel, it was a hero who is kind of the reason we have the rule you can't attack people in their homes. Because he went and attacked villains' family members.
Yeah, that's right. I forgot that was him. Yeah.
I didn't know that.
That's mentioned
so
early on somewhere.
He is the reason. I'm pretty sure he's the reason that they have so one of those unwritten rules that we now have to make a rule, no attacking at the house. Like, you cannot, publicly be like, yes, this is that person. They have wife and kids, and you know what? I'm going to go after them.
Right.
Strong Punisher vibes.
Right.
/ like Judge Dredd vibes in my mind. I don't know if that's true at all.
His name is Gavel, so that would make sense.
Yeah, the Judge Dredd, And they're like, you can't do that. Like, you're breaking the law. I am the law. And then smashes him with a giant hammer.
The birdcage with you.
To the birdcage you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole birdcage arc or chapter was interesting. I don't know. I will say this is the one that felt, in light of everything else going on, I felt so rudely interrupted from Taylor's story by this one.
Where I was just
like, where the other interludes, like the one we get introduced to Pigot's backstory and Thomas Calvert, and the other one is kind of following up on the dragon fight. We find out the effects of that one. This one, at least especially initially, just kind of felt like, wait, what happened to Taylor? Why are we in the birdcage? I don't care about what's Amy. What? No.
I don't care about what's her ass. Get out of here.
I will say, I felt like the whole purpose, like the only part that I was like, like about the entire time is the Simurf reference at the end, being like, oh fuck, Endbringer. Like, that's, if the entire interlude was the setup for the Simurf, like, fuck, like, shit. This is, everything's about to fucking crash. Like, god damn it.
And also,
this probably would have been a great ending interlude, to be honest. But
I also like to think, again, we were talking about the strengths of the web serial format. This was also absolutely Wild Bow going, massive cliffhanger. You want answers? Oh, you gotta wait till next time. Like, curse you. Just I can imagine reading this live and thinking you're about to get answers, and then.
But if you subscribe to Patreon, get the chapter early.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, there it is. Yeah. But we can get back to Taylor here.
Yeah. Well, let's get back to Taylor. Okay, so the last 3 chapters.
Did we talk about her betrayal at all? I feel like we skipped that part. Or did we miss? Did I miss it?
We kind of
no. We haven't gotten there yet. She got flippy floppied, and oh my god, Coil's a bastard. Big surprise.
Yeah.
So she grabs Dinah's hand, and then all of a sudden is no longer where she was.
Sudden but inevitable betrayal.
Yes, sudden but inevitable. So Coil, last we saw, Coil had a gun. Thomas Calvert had a gun trained to Taylor's head. And we're back with chapter 11. Taylor gets shot. But she fights on. There's a bit of a scramble in the building that they're in.
How did you miss? She was 3 feet in front of you. How could you miss?
As it turns out, Taylor's costumes are in fact bulletproof.
That's
a conversation that happened earlier, a couple chapters ago in regards.
It's a tinker, I tell you.
Yep. And so
nobody hates tinkers like tinkers. Let me tell you.
Yeah. And so there's a little bit of a Molotov cocktail situation, and Coil lights the house on fire, locking Taylor in. But she's able to kind of worm her way out.
That's all, folks. Good night. We had great time. It was a great podcast. Last episode, this one is.
Yeah, so she uses her duplicates to basically get out the window and escape. She pulls a little bit of mind games here and there, little tricksies on Coil's team to get away. Chapter 12, Taylor tracks down her team, tries to rescue them, realizes that there is a fake Taylor that has taken her spot. And just as she's about to run in and warn everybody, the fake Taylor makes it look as though she has betrayed the team and steals Dinah away. And there's like this box that's, I guess, kicking out orders for all the bugs. And she's trying to override all the, all the things that the bugs are doing. She's trying to crush the box, and everyone's mad and everyone's chasing her. And finally, we crush the box. Hooray. They figure out what's going on. Chapter 13. The Undersiders try to trick Coil one last final, way to get him back. But he sees through it. And just when we think everything is about to go to shit and everyone's going to die, Tattletale outpays his minions. And suddenly, Coil is on his knees and Taylor shoots him. Magically delicious as the Undersiders take the victory, return to Coil's base, and find out that Coil has, with his final breath, fucked them all. And they realize that Noelle is gone. Busted through the doors. Gonzo.
Let's start all the way back in the firelit room.
Yep.
Taylor is about to die in a fire that she is trapped in because of hexagonal screws. Like screws with a hexagonal head. And I went, really, that's an odd way of describing it. Because I think what he meant to say is she's getting fucked over by Allen wrenches.
Oh,
it always comes back to it. Fucking Allen's fucking over Taylor once again.
Every time.
Every time.
That's too
fucking
funny.
Putting shade on that name.
Oh, I love it. I love it.
Can't escape.
That's what it would come down to. Taylor dies of smoke inhalation, and it was all because she didn't have an Allen wrench.
That's funny.
The more you know.
That's funny. That is funny.
The more you know.
Yeah, that is that's fantastic. I didn't even think about that.
I mean, they could have been like screws with like you need a socket set for.
Yeah.
But when we were talking about like an indentation, I was like, oh, like an Allen wrench.
Allen wrench.
Dang
the
it.
tool that comes with.
Yeah, we're talking about like
piece
socket
of
set. We're talking
IKEA
Allen
furniture.
wrench, and I was like, it's an Allen wrench.
It's
Canonically, it has to be an Allen wrench.
It's always
It is
an Allen.
now.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, this again, the tension is high. It does kind of feel like this is one of those moments where, while it makes sense that she escapes, there is this slight sense of, should she have? Just it feels almost too lucky here.
Yeah,
and I know she's our protagonist. Her story's not over. I don't know. I maybe I'm just a Coil cuck fanboy, but his ending. Now I have a cool idea for dissecting worm, so I'll get there
okay.
when he dies. But his ending as a character, I think, while cool, also felt just lackluster, and maybe that's part of the point.
Agree.
Is that
I agree.
Yeah, maybe that's part of the point, though, is he's been such a showman villain that having him lose in such a lackluster way where it just comes down to money is kind of just the irony of his whole story.
Yeah, honestly, I would say that, but almost about this entire arc. I feel like a lot of this arc is things that happen that are really cool. I love this. I love Dinah getting rescued. I love all of this, but I don't feel like they're deserved here.
Yeah, and I almost feel like, and I don't know this for sure, but I almost feel like with Wildbow, what might be happening is Wildbow wants to get to Noelle, but to get to Noelle, he has to get Coil out of the way.
He has to murder.
Yes, he has to murder the person with the coolest powers in the whole thing. But I don't know. So it feels like an anticlimactic climax, but I don't know. At the same time, though, I was also kind of like, Oh yeah, that's how that went down. That was kind of cool. So I'm of two minds of it completely. Where I'm like, that was too easy, but also still kind of cool. I don't know.
Yeah, it's strange. It's very much like reading it in hindsight it's a really, like you said, it's a really cool end to Coyle's character. It's a satisfying moment, and like in terms of how they beat him, it's like you said, it's really poetic. It's Tattletale out buying him, which is hilarious.
Yeah.
It's like the one thing he didn't plan for because his ego's too big. Like it makes sense. Like everything works in that sense. It doesn't feel like unearned in that regard. But I agree. I think it just coming on the light of everything, it happened so quickly. I mean, Coyle has been essentially for, aside from the first couple of arcs, the antagonist for Taylor this entire story. And you don't see that ending here. It feels like, with the way the arc is written, it feels like we're entering into a new phase of their rivalry, where like you feel like it's going to take a different direction. You're like, okay, everything's changing. Maybe he leaves the city. They're obviously no longer going to work for him. How are they going to fight back? And then they outsmart him and kill him, and it's just kind of over, which is weird. It's a different dynamic to the story.
Very jarring.
Yeah.
In a metaphorical and literal sense.
Yeah.
It is a mad dash to the finish. But when you thought it was a marathon and all of a sudden it was just a 400-meter sprint, like, you're like, oh, yeah, they're finishing the first lap. They're on to, they've got 4 more to do a mile. And then you're like, oh, they, they're slowing down. That was the finish line. Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Yeah.
Cool moments, just not what I was expecting, maybe. And maybe that's it. Maybe it's just a matter of expectation. But I feel like the expectation was that this was going to be longer term. And I don't know, the fact that the entirety of him being dealt with essentially is this arc. I mean, maybe you could throw in last arc as well. But yeah, he gets one arc. It's the longest arc, and he's only about half of it, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, I don't know, because I again, like I said, I'm kind of two minds of it, because it does feel very fitting and poetic for a lot of narrative reasons. But I think maybe I'm just a little disappointed with how quickly it felt like his story ended, kind of out of nowhere. And kind of like you said, with this very wild plan to become Thomas Calvert and take over that way, just unraveling so quickly. I don't know. It just felt felt a bit off. That said, though, Taylor escaping was really cool. The fake Taylor thing was super cool. I was like, this is wild and incredibly smart what Coyle is doing. And only just barely survives, Taylor does, because Gru can take her powers. If he hadn't had his second trigger, she just dead,
Yeah.
And then the trick at the end is pretty cool. I gotta admit.
I love the image of Lisa being the lair villain, the one with all the people and just hanging out in her lair with she is like the penguin. I don't know. She seems like such she let her run the underground of the city. Like, this is where Lisa should be. Like, Lisa doesn't do great out in the field. Like, put her in comms, give her the lair, the underground lair, like give her Miner and Fish and all of our boyos. Like, it's perfect. I love that. I love it so much. Like, I'm ready for it. But also, Thomas Calvert had he had what, a day? Did he get a day?
Yeah.
To be Thomas?
He doesn't even get to be the interim guy. Like, that's one of the things. So Coyle dies, and this is the same day, right? Or is this the next day?
It's at
the
most
next
it's a day. Yeah.
At most, though, it's just one
most
day. Yeah.
I don't even know if he gets to set foot in the PRT building. Like, he shows up, like, checks into the motel real quick, and, doesn't even he puts his bags down, his fake bags, and then walks out and, tries to set a building on fire across the street and gets killed. Like, he does nothing. I go back to, we are going through PRT leaders like hotcakes. Piggo, dead. Thomas doesn't make it
Piggo's
the
not
day.
dead.
Piggo's not dead.
Piggo's not dead? Oh, that's right.
No, Piggo's
the
not dead.
stabbing, that didn't kill her.
She just gets
got
outed.
lip poked.
She
but not
probably
dead.
died out of spite off screen. She was like, oh, you want me alive for your plans? Well, I guess I'll die.
Yeah.
Like, but yeah, like, okay, so she's fired. We'll just go with that. He's brought in. He doesn't make it a day.
Same.
Like, the next guy is gonna be like told via email,
or lady,
that, just given the pattern, gets told by an email that, like, hey, you're gonna be the next PRT director. And before he can be like, fuck no, I don't want that job. I heard what happened to the last two. Like, his computer's going to explode and the glass is going to kill him because Shatterbird was like, oh, we got to kill that guy. Like, it's like he doesn't even get to leave his city.
What's the Tyrion quote from Game of Thrones? Every day, directors are dropping like flies.
Yeah. Okay, I will say, though, to throw this into Dissecting Worm, I have an image of what Coil's final scene would look like.
Oh, give it to us.
So this is
paint me a picture.
I'm not normally on Dissecting Worm, so you guys take this as you will and decide if you like it or not. I would like to see this final scene from Coil's perspective, and here's what I mean. The moment he realizes what Tattletale has done, right? Because this conversation reads very calmly overall. Like, Coil's getting desperate, but you can tell he's still remaining calm. And I think, in my mind and in my vision, that's because he's going crazy in his alternate reality.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we see is calm Coil contrasted with another Coil running around, desperately trying all sorts of different tactics. Then that Coil gets sucked up into the calm one. Another one jumps out of him. Desperate tactics, sucked up into him. Just rapid fire Coils coming in and out as he's trying to create a reality where he survives this scenario.
I like it.
And the whole time, it's like this underlying buzz of desperate conversation that you can kind of hear if you listen to it. Underlying the whole normal, calm conversation that he's having with Tattletale, right? So it's just this image I have of him throwing out realities and trashing them as soon as he realizes they don't work. Just desperately trying anything to survive.
Yeah.
And then finally...
I love it.
Yeah. Finally, it comes back together at the end and he gets shot.
Yeah. I remember reading this the first time and trying to figure out, like, Lisa has arranged a way in such that when he, like, there is literally no him being able to split and do two separate things because it just won't work. And in my mind, because as far as we know, he can only do two at a time. I think that, like, she's essentially got him in a checkmate where he cannot go either way. And in my head, if we were going to paint an image of this, she hands Taylor the gun, or Taylor's like, I'll do it. And she walks around to stand behind Coil. Taylor puts the gun, up to his head. And when we, like, cut to, like, looking from the side, Lisa has a gun and they both shoot at the same time, essentially aiming to the right and to the left of Coil. And in both of his realities, he tries to dodge one into the other and gets plugged in both of them. Like, it's literally in this reality, Taylor's the one to gun him down. But what he doesn't know is Lisa's behind him and is aiming to the other side. So like, he literally cannot pick a direction. And he doesn't see that the other direction's just going to get him killed. So, like,
I like it.
Yeah, and in this reality,
that's cool.
It looks like Lisa just fires a bullet into the ground next to his head. just in case he dodged to the right, because in the other reality, he moves his head to the right to dodge and like charge Taylor or something.
Yeah, there's a lot of really fun ways you can try to storyboard this. Have a lot of fun with this scene. And we will in Dissecting
and
Worm.
we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tune in next week. Be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Something that's kind of rolling into the Dissecting Worm, but it is mentioned in this that I thought was interesting to explore was like there's a talk about that he would not let, like, okay, so the plan here at the end, I'm actually kind of on board with. I think there's a little bit of overcomplication, but I think that's actually more in the writing than it is Coyle's plan. So Coyle fake switches out and betrays the Undersiders that are there. Thus, Taylor can run away, or they, and they're left. Oh my gosh, good riddance. Meanwhile, it's maybe implied that Lisa also betrayed them or ran away with Skitter or whatever the details are there, so that they're still kind of loyal to Coyle. And these two people can be taken away. At which point in time, Lisa was going to become another pet.
Right, he says that, yeah.
Yeah, he says that. And I was like, oh, shoot. Gosh. Like, that's really interesting. Because in another universe, like, and once again, leaning into, a little bit of the Dissecting Worm, it'd be really interesting if that's, essentially what Lisa was. That, like, Lisa was, kind of this pet on a leash that, like, she could have very easily been Dinah. She's a little bit older, so she's, a little bit smarter and weasels her way out from under his thumb. But like she was, for all intents and purposes, another Dinah. She just wasn't on drugs.
Mm-hmm.
Like, she was not getting out of this situation.
Yeah, she could have been.
She has more.
That's cool.
Yeah. Like, she has more freedom to, literally go outside, walk around. But in the grand scheme of things, like, Coyle's not letting her out of the city. Like, she's going to stay on a leash for the rest of her life.
Yeah. I get what you're saying.
Yeah. Man. What a man. What a man. What a dude. Yeah. What a dead dude.
He's like, I guess put me in the bird cage. Like, bitch, you ain't leaving.
I know. I like that he tries his last attempt. Fine. Cuff me. Take me away. Do your worst.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Does Taylor look like a bitch? Do I look like a ward to you?
Yeah. Shots fired.
Yeah. And then just goes, Shadow Stalker, and plugs him.
Shadow Stalker still catching strays.
That's a whole, oh man. I'm stuck on the Megamind. I said that once and that's all I can think about tonight. But he does that in Megamind too, where he's like, oh, you've won. Take me to jail. I give in. It's like, oh no. Yeah. I was thinking more like the morgue. Like,
yeah.
Gonna make that. That's the meme for this
week.
It's
hard.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Ballistic. I can just imagine, because per our D&D game, does Ballistic just birdshot his teammates a la Edward and the catapult spell?
Inside joke for all of our D&D players who are playing an hour campaign that nobody else can see. But yes.
Like, Artificer has a handful of marbles or stones and then just casts. It's catapult, right?
It is catapult.
Something like that. Casts catapult and just fires buckshot into his teammates who are like 5 feet away.
They're fine. They're fine.
Yeah, they're fine. I mean, it's enough to knock them out, but damn.
It doesn't like because Taylor doesn't know what's happening, so she's just like, and they pass out, and they pass out. It's like, oh wait, no, it's Ballistic, just knocking them out with a shotgun. It's
pretty much.
That's
one palm shotgun.
Remind me why Ballistic does that. Was he was working with?
He's sick and tired of Trickster's ass.
That's right.
He's done with Trickster. Was probably easy to buy. Tattletale was like, "Hey, knock out Trickster, and I'll give you $5." And then
he's like, "Would have done it for one
for $5. Knock out Trickster."
I was gonna say my joke was that Ballistic is putting away his wallet. Oh, you'll give me $5. Okay.
I was gonna say, Tattletale's offer is like $50,000. You knock out Trickster, and he's like, "Okay, but give me a
Done.
second. I need to go find $50,000."
Yeah, exactly.
Let me raise the money. It's gonna take a little bit, but you bet. We have.
Because he even said, like, if they go this time, I'm staying. Probably just gonna man this territory for the rest of my life. Before the world ends.
Yeah.
That's right. Because he's very like the world is gonna end and everything's over, and
he doesn't think they're ever getting back, to where they need to go, and not getting helped or anything like that. So he's fully on board with the nihilistic. Well, world's gonna end, and I'll be damned if I'm gonna die beside Trickster.
Coil.
Yeah.
The only way I want to go out is with my hands wrapped around his neck. And same.
There's another Lord of the Rings meme where it's never thought I'd fight dying side by side with an elf. What about side by side with a friend? And then it's back to the Council of Elrond. I'll be dead before I'm caught with an elf. Like that's their whole dynamic. Oh, that's great.
Then we get to the end of this, and holy shit.
Done.
Can we have a breather for a second?
Nope.
No.
For a second. We didn't even get a full barbecue.
We just weren't there for the barbecue. The barbecue happened. It's just we weren't there exactly. Although I will say there's nothing more.
Lots of people had lots of fun, exciting, relaxation times. But, meanwhile, we're dealing with the Slaughterhouse 9. Like, we don't get to see a lot of good fun stuff. We're too busy fucking around with all this shit.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing more satisfying than that moment, though, when she goes to get Dinah. And it's like they open the door and she's like, I've waited so long for this.
Yeah.
And I oh my gosh, I got hit with the feels because I've been hating every moment that Taylor's like, oh, I'm doing it for Dinah. Like, shut up. Like, no, you're not. Like, get over it. Like, fuck Dinah. She's fine. Just leave her alone. But all of this was like, oh yeah, we did the right thing. This was good. This was a good moment. We had a win here today. Like, finally get the girl free. And yeah, like you said, Ellen, we cannot have one fucking moment of a breather and sound the alarms because shit's about to get fucked up again.
We don't have time for the end of the world. We've got to save the world. The other thing that's ending it.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we'll get
I stand by. I don't like the entire time. I stand by. I don't buy the Dinah thing. But damned if I didn't feel it at this end where she's like, like you said, I felt it. I felt it. I was like, man, this is so good.
So, okay.
Except for everything leading up to it.
Real quick thing though. This means that Dinah, I know that like she just found out that, Taylor was trying to save her, but did she know the whole time? And if so, how did she find out? Because Taylor admits, like, I haven't seen or talked to Dinah. I don't even know if she's alive anymore.
I mean, I feel like she probably did the calculations. Like, she does
what's preventing her from asking herself in her head?
Right. Like, okay, am I ever going to get out of here? Like, okay, here's the chance. Like, okay. I imagine that after doing the calculations enough times, she starts to realize that, like, her fate is tied to Taylor's, maybe. And she, like, realizes, like, oh, in the worlds where Taylor is living and is surviving and is, like, beating the bad guys and is, like, living to live another day, I tend to also, my chances of leaving, like, also go up. And, like,
yeah, that's true.
If, what are the chances that it's one of the Undersiders? Like, oh, that's a high chance. What are the chances that it's Taylor? Like, oh, it's Taylor, all right. Like, I imagine that through process of elimination, she figures that out.
Yeah, what are the percentages that anybody cares about me? Like 1%. Or how much of that percentage is in the Undersiders? Like 20%? Like,
yeah.
How much of a percent that Regent saves me?
0%.
Negative 25%.
Well,
I was going to say, that's negative percentage. What does that mean?
Well, because Taylor's been thinking about it for so long. Like, since she found out about Dinah has been, like, at the forefront of her mind. So, like, if Taylor, regardless of what happened to Taylor, as long as Taylor lives, her goal is to get Dinah free. So like I imagine that the numbers probably reflect that.
Yeah, like her internal. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I just want to know who gets Coil's cool bass.
Tattletale.
I mean,
I hope so.
It's got to be Tattletale, right? That or does like Dinah get it in some sort of settlement deal?
No.
There you go.
And she's like, no, like the first thing I'm going to do is convert it to an orphanage. Obviously, she can't stand to live there again, but it could be very useful space for other things. No. A lot of orphan children running around, just saying.
Lisa gets the base and Dinah gets rehab and therapy.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah.
Well,
all right. If we're done with this section, I'd like to go over a small. No. This you'll like this.
Alan, I am so tired.
Look, we'll move to this. We move to the powers. We go to bed. Okay. You'll appreciate this because this is something I had to look up. So the Ellisburg incident, if you will, is Wildbow talking about.
I'm listening.
Yeah, talking about the Ellisburg incident. So all the way back, Michael, if you want to cut this back to when we're talking about Nilbog, you can mark the time.
Okay.
So first couple of days, pets are disappearing from backyards. Outdoor cats don't return. Insect population declines steeply. Open suspicions are raised about possibility of coyotes to explain the pets, or perhaps a voracious rodent population being tied to water levels with the adjacent river. Pets disappear from inside of houses. A shapeshifter villain makes appearances one after another, but nobody's getting hurt so much as they're getting scared. He strikes target of no apparent consequences. The natural response at this juncture for a town this size is to call in cops from neighboring cities. One guy doesn't necessarily involve PRT involvement, especially when all the reports suggest that he's relatively harmless. A visiting police set up in the town's hotel, ready to act. The next wave of creatures cuts the power and telephone lines, attacks cell towers, generates EM signals to scramble all means of communication. Car underbellies and tires are savaged. The creations move through the city, house to house, from the perimeter to the center. Then, on reaching the center, touch base with Nilbog and get the signal. They explode outward from one point and people panic, running. They arm themselves and fight. Every time one is killed, they're dragged back to Nilbog. One adult becoming 3 child-sized creatures that are specialized for cutting down more adults. If the creatures report a problem, one family locks themselves inside a bomb shelter. One guy uses a homemade flamethrower to attack a whole crowd of things. He sends out specialized creations to answer that. If any die, others carry the biomass back to him. With transportation so systematically crippled, the attention to detail for hundreds of loyal soldiers with acute senses escaping on foot is the only option, and the creatures prove faster. Some people make it beyond the city limits, but are only attacked the first moment they stop for breath or to use the washroom in the bushes. 1 to 2 days of problems, nothing that would make you pack up and leave the town. So that is his Space Battles posts on what happened during the Ellisburg incident.
That's cool.
That is very cool.
I would love to see.
That's like giving me zombie apocalypse timeline shit.
It's zombie apocalypse, but like, okay, we've seen zombies, and zombies, while scary, have kind of a familiar element to them.
Right.
You know what a zombie apocalypse looks like, even in a small town or something.
Right.
But this isn't zombies. This is something different. These creatures are, this is body horror on a different level.
Yeah.
These creatures are creepy because they're inhuman. Even if we're talking like undead, there's some, they're human shaped. They're just a marred version of that. These things are inhuman and gross and disgusting and weird and contrived, and man.
Yeah.
And they're being made out of things. It's like if you took a human and then you watched them wrap it into 3 gremlins. Like, ugh.
Well, I think it's so interesting too that at first they assumed that Nilbog's powers were shapeshifting.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So clearly he's been. I would imagine it's possible he started by modifying himself, and then learned he could modify other humans as well through who knows what disturbing means, right?
Right.
So, yeah, very, very disturbing. Very, very disturbing. The whole Nilbog thing is just, it's wild. It's wild.
Yeah. Anyway, I thought you would appreciate the breakdown there, because that is.
Yeah, no, that was really cool. That was interesting. I'm sure we'll never see him again.
Nope.
Yeah.
Minor character, only for an interlude. It makes sense. He was basically just used to move on Thomas Calvert.
Solely used to introduce Pigott and Calvert, just.
I hope
that's true. That's true.
Just like the Marquis interlude was only there to just to mention the Simmer.
Yeah.
And remind me that I hate Amy.
Yeah.
Hey, have you thought about healing anyone? Like literally anyone? I can't. Oh, this shit again.
Yeah.
I think that I mean, we could do a quick favorite power. Not too many new powers except for Nilbog and the birdcage. Yeah, we didn't get too much to see. But anything stand out?
Glastic Wenye.
Oh, we did get a good description.
Give me a fucking crazy lady who talks to fairies. I was
gonna say crazy fairy lady.
I love it. I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Also, I love the name.
Cool.
Yeah, she's great.
I can't really think of anything particularly new that is different. I mean, yeah, the people in the birdcage are all interesting. Gleistig Wenye is very unique. Obviously, I think I just got to mention, of course, I love Coil's power, and since this is his finale, rest in peace, Coil. You had my favorite power.
That's fair. They did have one of the coolest powers.
You were a good villain.
I was I a good
R.I.V.
villain?
Rest in villainy.
There you go.
Yeah, I'd throw a few in. Same thing. Coil gets the nice little send off nod. Cool power.
So to add to like the fact that I really, really like Circus's pocket dimension ability and enhanced timing and aim and everything. Like the way she stabs, Pigott is she throws 3 knives in succession up in the air and they land on her. Like just, ooh.
Yeah.
That's some great aim. I love some coordination like that.
That is fun.
But on top of that, we finally get a description for Circus, who I believe we assumed was.
Oh my gosh. I forgot about this. I had a whole thing to say about this.
My favorite description. Yeah. Is it a woman in costume, but dresses as a dude, is it out of costume, or is it a woman in costume, or is it a
dude
man
who dresses as a woman in costume? Yeah.
Is it a guy or a girl? You don't know.
I love that. And I love that.
One of my favorite descriptions.
Circus's response to that question on the roof is to hawk a loogie at a horsefly.
And shoot it out of the air.
Yeah. I love it so much. It's so good. I can't believe I forgot about that. It was so. I stopped. I was listening to it at that point. I had to stop, pause it, and I just let out this giant cackle. It was just. It's such a great, and it's like, fuck you. You don't need to know. I just love it.
I'll never tell.
All the envy energy, give it to me. I love it.
Yeah, I'm here for that. Really, really liked that, and really liked the powers. So Circus is mine for this arc.
I'm glad you mentioned that. I did forget that we get to see a bit more of Circus, which was really cool.
Yeah, that's fun. That's a fun one. All right, well, I think that about does it. I'm going to say that about does it. We are out of time.
Yeah.
One of our shortest episodes, I think.
To be fair, longest arc. Going to be one of the longest episodes. We saw that coming. But we get a short one, a shorter one. Arc 17 is a bit shorter, so that'll be fun. Read along with us, please. We've been enjoying this, going 2 weeks now for arcs, as they have picked up in length a bit. Next week will be Dissecting Worm for arc 16. where Alan and myself will break down the arc for television as we have been doing. We're into season 3 now, which is a lot of fun. So we're kind of putting together this season. We got some things to work through here, so that's going to be fun. Stick around, listen for that. As always, leave us a voice message if you have any gripes you want to throw our way. We'd love to hear them. Leave some comments down below, of course, for anything that we missed. Anything you wish to correct, any pronunciations you think we said wrong, even though we were right, obviously, every time. Thanks to everyone, all of you guys. Thanks you for chiming in. Michael, thanks for making us sound good, and I do apologize for what we have done for you tonight.
No problem.
I'll be with you. And
no problem.
You can play us out if you'd like to.
Okay. Thank you so much for listening. Read along with us at parahumans.wordpress.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. What did you love? What did you hate? Anything you think we missed, etc., as long as it's kind. If you'd like to get in touch, you can find us on Twitter, Threads, Instagram, TikTok, and Reddit at Brocktonbaybc, or click the link in the description.